Our story begins when, 5 years ago, portals called gates opened to different levels of another world called the Shadow World, and people who could access these portals are known as Awakeners with special abilities, with the Shadow World granting them the chance to level up, or get unalived while trying. Right now, a particular team is in the Black Ruin City of the Shadow World, and they're having a lot of trouble dealing with some monsters. A magician crybaby named Su Tao Tao is about to get slapped by a monster, but is saved just in time by a swordswoman, Lue Shui. Another member of their team, Anya the fighter, is also having trouble, as she realizes that these monsters just keep coming no matter how many they slice and dice, and their attack strength is running dangerously low too, probably because they've been fighting for hours now. The warrior, Zhao Haishan, has already given up on living and is ready to accept his fate at this point. Lu Feng, our MC, asks his teammates to release him from a protective barrier they had put him in because he's a newbie, which Lue Shui reminds him of, but he's going to have to join the fight sooner or later. And it's not looking like she has any other choice at this point in the battle anyway, especially when a much bigger monster appears. They try to keep composure in front of the new guy and attack the bigger monster all at once, but the monster easily overpowers them, even with the strength buff from Su Tao Tao. Lu Feng is no longer playing, now demanding that the crybaby Su Tao Tao release him from the barrier. She does as she's instructed, and just in time to save the busty princess, Lu Jue, who has lost her weapon and is about to become Monster Snack. He uses his sword and quite easily slices the monster like fresh butter, and naturally she's surprised that a level 1 newbie could pull this off, but he just tells her to shut her trap while he works. And he does fine work, slicing and dicing the monster with accurate attacks and elegant swordsmanship. The team members are beyond impressed and shocked that a level 1 newbie could do all this. Well, former level 1, because our boy just leveled up to 2 after he defeats that big monster. He then warns them of more incoming monsters from a nest nearby and tells them to run down a path to safety. They naturally wonder how he knows all of this, but they have to be alive in order to find out, so they obey him without asking questions. The busty princess has to ask our MC if he is really a newbie, even though she literally just saw him become level 2. So he reveals that the reason he knows much more than any of them combined is simply due to the fact that this is not his first day here, or second or third. He has actually been trapped in this world for a whopping 3,000 years. Or to be precise, he's been trapped in that day for 3,000 years. Years. Which makes absolutely no sense to her. Every day his time rewinds to the moment they got transported here, and the reason why he cares so much about them being alive is because every time she ends up sacrificing her life to save his, so they're pretty much best pals. No matter how many times it takes, he's gonna save all of them, and he's dang serious about it. They still understandably find this hard to believe, but he's done more than fight the whole time he's been stuck here, as he reveals that he also spent his time researching everything about this world, from stats, professions, skills, even hidden elements. He's basically a Shadow World encyclopedia now. Lu Shui can't comprehend that Lu Feng is a literal god in this world, and she doesn't have the time to, as he commands them to run away while he goes to handle some business. He assures cute Su Tao Tao that he'll be back though, as he won't leave his best friends just like that, and zooms away with Godspeed. Meanwhile, somewhere else on the battlefield is a gun wielder, Ling Yu, who is definitely cooked because her twin babies just ran out of ammo, and the monsters aren't anywhere near done with her, but just as she's about to kiss her sweet life goodbye, a stranger rushes in to save her. Lu Feng gets there just in the nick of time, or she would have been just a pile of meat. He takes her by the arms and shoves her into an elevator, telling her to go to a warehouse where she'll find all the ammo she'll ever need, and the password to the lock. Before she leaves, she inquires about why he is helping her, and he reveals that they are actually friends. They just haven't met yet. Then he zooms off to make clean work of those monsters. It takes him 1 minute and 6 seconds to get everything done this time around, so he concludes that he's faster by just a second. Lu Feng's teammates begin to wonder if he played them after they run into a horde of monsters while running through the so-called safe path he showed them. But they have no other choice than to just trust him and push through. They're shocked to see him standing at the end of the tunnel, even after they had seen him zoom off in the other direction, and he assures them to just keep running till they reach the end of the tunnel and to leave the horde of monsters behind them to him. With the click of a button, the entire horde blows up to smithereens, and it's quite the fireworks show. Too bad the gang can't stop to get a better look, lest they get caught in the explosion. But not to worry though, because our boy calculated everything, including the timing and radius of the bombs, so he knows that everyone will be safe. He takes them all to a safe place where they can watch all the chaos unfold from a safe distance, and asks if they believe him now. But even though they admit he's way too strong for a newbie, they don't quite yet. Maps and bombs aren't that hard to obtain around here, so pretty much anyone could do it. Anyone except them, that is. Such ingrates. Besides fighting, he's been doing a lot of learning too. From piloting a plane to medical techniques, even strategic games, you name it. Kakianya inquires if he's made any more pals in the so-called 3,000 years, and he indeed has. He knows most of the 100 people that were transported to this world at the beginning, but out of that many, only 7 are truly dear to him. They try to inquire more to satisfy their disbelief, but our boy has to cut this little interview short, as he has more important matters to attend to. The sun is about to rise again, and that means a restart for him, so he needs to send them all back to human land before that happens. Suddenly, a cable car starts working, which is weird, but Lu Feng had actually reworked the city's electrical system to start functioning at that very moment, like the OPMC he is. Somewhere else in the city, the level boss, Steel-Winged Giant, is wreaking havoc, and the Awakener's attacks do nothing to even slow it down, talk less of dealing damage. The commander realizes that the monster is way out of their league, and is about to order a retreat when someone casually makes a grand entrance. It's Lu Feng, and he's ready to get to work. The commander naturally doesn't want to allow a level 2 nobody anywhere near that thing, but has no choice but to take a back seat and watch an overconfident rookie player fall to his doom, after Lu Feng outright ignores him. Psych. Our boy's attacks deal serious damage to everyone's surprise, but he only cuts specific weak points, which are the fingers of the giant. After that, he predicts that it will go into the second stage, and just like he said, it enters a rope stage where it uses whips to attack. But he won't let it get to the third stage, Steel Wing, where he predicts it will release numerous sword attacks at once and instantly end everyone. Instead, to everyone's shock, he delivers carefully coordinated attacks at specific points on the monster, which makes it reveal its control center, which he quite easily finds and stabs. And that's the end of that. It falls apart and blows up immediately, and the commander can't tell if she just witnessed a level 2 player or a god in action. After the explosion, everyone is shocked to see that a level 2 rookie totally deleted a boss monster from existence. Everyone in 10,000 times the monster drops a sweet reward after slaying it, and our boy knows this one is going to drop a steel-winged giant mechanic egg, but too bad it's going to waste like it did every other time he repeated the day. With the boss taken care of, the level has been cleared and everyone will be transported back to human land after a minute. His teammates, who had watched everything from a safe distance like he intended, start to believe a little that he might actually be telling the truth. But they'd only truly know once they go back and don't see him. Meanwhile, our boy is gearing up for his restart, because every morning at 6 a.m. on the dot, or after the boss is dealt with, his day refreshes and he starts again. That has been his life for so long, and he closes his eyes to restart his cycle again, only to wake up and find himself in a normal human room. Lu Feng almost can't believe he's actually back in the land of humans. After so many years of repeating a cycle of fighting and death, he has finally returned to his Sweer home. His level and stats are still pretty much the same as they were after defeating the boss, that is, still very low, and the sweet bonus also came with him, sitting and just waiting to be cracked. It's a steel-wing giant's egg, and for some reason, the system doesn't know how it can be hatched, which is weird, because he doesn't know just one, but 7 ways he can go about cracking that bad boy. Just then, a knock comes from his door, and it's his adorable little sister, Lu Yao, who was extremely worried when her big brother decided to suddenly disappear for a whole day and his phone wasn't going through. Amidst her yapping, her brother ambushes her with a warm embrace, having missed her for thousands of years. But to her, it's only been a day, so it's nothing more than her brother being all weird as usual. She pushes him away and demands an explanation, and he makes up an excuse to get her to chillax. To butter her up even more, he buys her a repair set she's always wanted, and that does the trick because she switches moods and heads off to make him lunch faster than you can blink. Wanting to hop on her happy train, he makes a request, but she tells him not to push his luck with her. In the past, a car accident took their parents and his sister's ability to walk, so he swore then to make her walk again, even though the doctors had said it was basically pointless. And now he's actually gathered enough medical knowledge to pull it off. He casually floats the idea of doing the surgery himself while she's cooking, and she immediately turns it down, not wanting to raise her hopes up for nothing. Just then, the TV interrupts them, and the reporter is explaining how the gates came to be, and how the awakened must risk their lives to clear them. These awakened have supernatural abilities and can choose a profession and a gate to conquer. But sometimes they're dragged into high-level, unknown, dangerous worlds against their will, and have to fight their way out. Rumors say that only when the god-rank shadow world is dealt with can all the other gates disappear. Then the guild leader of the #1 Awakeners Guild, called Ark, makes an appearance. His name is Alston, and he currently holds the position of strongest awakener in the world, having conquered multiple shadow worlds in his time. He is giving All Might vibes, preaching hope, being a legend, the full package. He truly believes that one day every awakener will be free, but our boy Lu Feng knows it's all crap on top of crap. The truth is that Alston is actually a demon who unalives people just to fill his own power and would hunt down everyone, including our MC, and use their life force to recover. His real goal is not to free awakeners, but to use them as pedestals to his throne as a god who controls this world. So yeah, he's definitely giving more of Homelander's vibes now. Anyway, our boy reckons he should avoid that psycho until he gets stronger. If he wants any chance at beating him, he'll need his very own guild, and he knows the exact people he needs, starting with his teammates back at the raid. Sometime during his repetitions, a scholar had predicted that the next time the Awakeners are forcefully summoned, it would be a catastrophic level world, and he needs to make sure all his friends survive that one as well. The sound of his sister calling him to lunch brings him out of his thoughts. He can't save the world on an empty stomach now, can he? Meanwhile, the golden egg he left in his room is beginning to crack and hatch a little. So our boy Lu Feng goes to pay the Awakened Service Center a little visit, but everyone there just wants to join the Ark Guild like it's hot cake. And no one really wants to actually start a new guild, which is why it shocks everybody when a total nobody like our MC applies to start his very own guild. Normally, only level 50 and above create guilds of their own, and Lu Feng is a measly level 9. The receptionist explains that he would need to submit an A-rank item as collateral while they study it for 1 week, and people around him laugh at this because there's no way a level 9 even has a C-rank item, talk less of an A-rank. But our boy blows the hell out of everyone's mind when he casually pulls out his golden egg, which is basically an S-rank treasure. He tells the receptionist to handle it with care and at a stable temperature, and she informs him that at least 3 people have to actually join his guild in the next 36 hours, lest his application be voided. It's no matter for him though, for he already knows everyone he wants, and he will make them join, whatever means necessary. At a kendo gym in London, our busty princess Luo Shui is destroying her training opponent when she gets a random notification on her phone. She annoyingly declines Lu Feng's offer immediately without giving it a second thought. She obviously still doesn't believe that our boy spent that much time in the shadow world. At an establishment, the CEO, who happens to be Anya, is about to lay a poor employee off for slacking around when she sees Lu Feng's notification and spends even less time than Luo Shui in rejecting it. At the military base, Zhao Haishan is busy transporting some heavy delicate mech technology when he receives Lu Feng's invite. This one doesn't even read it and immediately assumes it's one of those scams, rejecting it. Su Tao Tao doesn't accept his invitation either, and it seems that nobody in his team believes him. He'll just have to start with others first and circle back to them later. At a gang fight, some men hail Jia as their big sis, while she single-handedly teaches the opposing team a lesson as she won't allow anyone to bully her underlings. Some guy has a fun idea and rains multiple bullets at her, but she stops each and every one of them with her ability, changes their trajectory, and shoots them right back at him. She then warns him to stay the hell away from her boys, uses her ability to pull him up, and shoves him at a wall. The boys hail her and glaze her real good, and she's basking in all the glory until a strong voice interrupts her, a guy speaking to her like he knows her. Lu Feng asks her to join his guild, being as blunt as humanly possible about it, and she refuses to join a crazy level 9 who thinks he can run a guild by himself naturally. Her boys decide to test the guy who wants their all-powerful big sister, and just a single punch from him sends the 2 grown men flying back to wherever the hell they came from. Xiaya is very impressed that he could convert a weak and basic attack like a punch into a powerful blow, but he explains that once you practice a single move 1,000 times, you tend to become OP at it. She then decides to test him herself and throws random stuff at him with her ability, which he dodges, and before she can blink, he's already behind her with a blade to her throat. Being the sore loser that she is, she points out that using a weapon isn't fair, and our boy decides to beat her at her own game, mind ability. He challenges her to knock down more cups than him, and if she wins, he would join her boy fan club. But if he wins, she has to join his guild. She accepts, and her fan club praises her when she uses her ability, Mental Power Burst, to knock down 5 cups at once. It's impressive, but our boy uses that same ability to not only knock out every single cup in that area, but to do so by piercing them right in the middle. She is shocked to see her ability used in such an OP way, and our boy reminds her about turning the most basic skill into an OP ability. As per their deal, she officially joins his guild, which works for her anyway since she really wants to learn how to use her ability like he does, which is what he had planned to do from the start. He leaves just as suddenly as he came, welcoming her into the new Breaking Dawn guild. Lu Feng comes home to an empty house, an already made dinner, and a note from his sister saying that she had gone out to do some stuff that's not important to our story, so it doesn't matter. As he enjoys his dinner, he gets a text from some chick he's been chatting with, and they have quite the chat history as it turns out to be with the gun user he saved back in the shadow world, and she accepts to join his guild without questioning it, even though it's only temporary. You'd think an assassin would be more suspicious of things like this. She works at a maid cafe and is an assassin, but our boy is dead set on bringing her out of that profession, an interest they do not share. He then realizes that he has only 4 hours left, and only 2 members in his guild, so he better hurry up and find the third person. Somewhere else in the city, under some heavy rain, a poor kid is being beaten up by some useless street thugs. He is an awakener, but he doesn't dare fight back for some reason, and the dumb hoodlums are even considering selling him off for some quick cash at the black market. At some point, Li Shijin decides he's had enough, and his ability slips out for a second, which he instantly regrets, trying desperately to call it back. His ability is an honestly cool-looking shadow wolf, but it's pissed off now and devours everyone in sight, causing a lot of damage. Those thugs definitely picked on the wrong kid today, but the wolf is attacking indiscriminately, and innocent pedestrians are being drawn into the chaos. They try to run away, but the big bad wolf just chases them, destroying and attacking as it goes. Li Shijin can only wallow in fear and regret as he can't do anything to stop his own ability and just watches it throw a tantrum like a baby who had his toy taken away, except the baby is huge, furry, and really angry. Even awakeners on the scene can't help much and are shocked when a level 9 newbie steps in to face the beast. He whistles to the overgrown dog to call its attention, and it does give him its full attention to eat him, that is, but it can't even lay a finger on our MC, who is as fast on his feet as he is in his mind. The awakeners are shocked to see him handle the situation so well, but he's faced off with this beast so many times when his life was still stuck on replay mode that it's practically child's play now. He knows that the dog's temper only gets worse with time and reckons that he's played with it enough and it's time to end this. Li Shijin tries to warn him to run away, but Lu Feng just grabs the boy and uses him as a human shield against the monster without thinking twice. The shadow wolf naturally pounces on both of them, only to disappear just before it makes contact with Li Shijin. And that's the end of that. The boy begins to thank his stars that the shadow wolf somehow recognized him, which is why it stopped. But our MC gives him a harsh dose of reality, telling him that it didn't go away, it returned back to him because they're both one and the same. He remembers that in his repeated days, the beast came out when Li Shijin was being attacked, and the more the boy suffered, the more berserk the beast became. Li Shijin can't wrap his head around the fact that the agent of destruction is actually him, but Lu Feng assures him by promising to teach him how to control his power, which is a special and awfully rare awakened ability that only appears once in every 10,000 awakeners, but has the potential to destroy entire cities if not controlled. He already knows this kid well, as a mega fanboy of Alston who wants to one day become a hero just like him, and he promises to help the boy if he joins his guild. And Li Shijin has no other option than to become the third member of Breaking Dawn. A group of Awakeners are about to enter a D-rank gate but are short 2 members, as per Awakeners rules, but just then, the leader of the group receives a notification from Lu Feng. He and his guild member Xiaya would like to fill the remaining 2 slots. The guy gladly accepts Xiaya, who's a level 24 ability user, but immediately rejects our MC, who is just a level 9. Xiaya refuses to go in if her boss isn't allowed to come along, and the Awakeners are surprised that a woman of her level is calling a level 9 her boss. The leader assumes she must be his side chick or something and agrees to let them in because they could really use a level 24 on their team, and it really doesn't matter much to him anyway. He tells everyone to get prepared to leave in 5 minutes. In exactly 5 minutes, they're about to pass through the gate when Xiaya inquires about the shadow dog boy. Lu Feng explains that he couldn't make it because he had some schoolwork to do, and our thug chick wonders why anyone would think school is still important in an ever-dangerous world like this one. She then asks why the 7 people he chose to be in his guild were chosen in the first place, so he reveals to her that the next forced teleportation will be to a catastrophe-level world, and he needs them all in his guild so he can ensure they make it out alive. She wonders how he's going to do all that saving while he's still a level 9, but she must have forgotten who the hell she's talking to. They go through the gate only to meet a harsh snow world. Even the North Pole in a heavy snowstorm is warmer than the D-rank shadow world they just stepped into, known as the gray-toned snowfield. None of them must have known how cold it would get, because they all immediately start regretting their wardrobe choices for this mission, especially Xiaya. None of them has ever been to this world before, so they know that resources will be little and rare, but since it's still just a D rank, they just have to defeat monsters, collect the drops, defeat the final boss, and be on their merry way. No stress. One of them notices a pretty blue glowing butterfly, and it's so pretty, until it lands on her hand and turns it into a hand of ice that shatters on the ground. The butterflies are everywhere, and now that they know these things aren't just pretty but also dangerous, they try to dodge and attack, but there are way too many, and they get surrounded. Some members become full-blown ice sculptures like something out of a freezer, so our MC casually mentions that the butterflies are attracted to heat, and if they keep staying there, they'll probably all be popsicles in no time flat. This flips a switch in the leader's head, and he immediately orders everyone to quit trying to dodge or attack and just run for their lives. They see that Lu Feng and his girl aren't moving, and he can go to hell for all they care, but they pity the level 24 ability user who is staying behind with him. They've got much more to worry about though, like saving their own butts from hypothermia, so they don't stop running. Xiaya inquires why they aren't running with the rest of the gang and assumes there must be some treasure, which is why they're letting the rest foolishly run so they can have it all to themselves. But Lu Feng informs her that the treasure is for only her, which only feeds her excitement. To her dismay, the treasure he's talking about is training. He tells her to kill the butterflies with her ability, which she thinks is absolutely nuts as she can handle only one wave of it at best with her mental power burst ability. He tells her to stop using her ability to attack in general and instead focus it, killing the butterflies one by one. She explains to him that that would be impossible, as she can only condense it to about the size of a tennis ball. But then he shows her that it is very much not impossible, as he demonstrates using that same ability to kill multiple butterflies, one by one, with single shots. If she hadn't just seen it with her very own eyes, she probably wouldn't believe that her own skill could be used like that. He then instructs her to try focusing on compressing her ability to the size of a grain, and then shoot it the way she wants, with precise angle, speed, and direction. Easy for him to say because he's OP. But she tries it and hits only 2 butterflies at once, which is a significant improvement. He then instructs her to keep doing it and eliminate 2,000 butterflies, adding 1 more every time she takes out more than 1 at a time, as her first round of training. She thinks he's joking, until he leaves her alone to go chill out on a tree while he observes her from afar, dealing with all these deadly butterflies. It is only a matter of time before our street chick is ready to go home, and she runs to her boss who's taking a nap for help, because there's no way she's letting pretty butterflies with Elsa's powers be the end of her. Lu Feng hands her a potion without even bothering to open his eyes to help her, which she desperately drinks without even giving it a second thought, and that allows the butterflies to catch up to her. They totally ignore her though, and she begins to wonder if that was an invisibility potion she just took. It's actually a low-level heat-concealing potion that conceals humans' natural heat so the butterflies won't be attracted to her anymore, and she can train freely. Xiaya inquires as to how he knows they would need this and if he knew about the world before they even passed through the gate, and he promises to tell her as long as she doesn't stop training. She knows that the gate only shows the difficulty level, but nobody actually knows what the world would be like except our MC isn't like anybody else. He's literally part of the system now, having gained enough knowledge to easily predict how a world would turn out to be. Once you've been in the Shadow Realm for 3,000 years, you learn to pick up a thing or two about these worlds. Xiaya probably couldn't do that even if she was given 10,000 years, so she doesn't fully believe him yet. But she keeps training under him, and Lu Feng notices if she misses a butterfly and adds it back for her every single time. Meanwhile, most of the Awakeners they came to the world with are already ice sculptures, just there chilling, literally. The Awakeners have never seen a D-rank world claim so many lives in one go. It's because the monsters here have Elsa-like powers, so that makes them such a pain to deal with. Before they can even recover from the butterflies, bigger trouble comes knocking at their door. Giant bug monsters. They ambush the Awakeners and take them off guard, and the team tries to attack, but they deal little damage. Soon they're overwhelmed and it turns into a massacre, with panic and death everywhere you look. Even the leader loses hope when faced with an elite rank Void Reaper. Meanwhile, Jaya has finally done what her boss instructed her to do, and just like he did it. She's excited and rushes to show him, only to find out that our MC isn't chilling on the tree anymore and is nowhere to be found. She can't believe he actually ran away and left her to deal with these all on her own. Back to the battle. Only the leader and one other chick, one of the people that insulted our MC earlier, are left standing, cornered in the middle of hungry-looking bug monsters. The leader tries to attack, but the bugs make easy and quick work of him, piercing him before he can even land a solid hit. The girl breaks down in tears, about to kiss her sweet life goodbye, when Lu Feng swoops in to save the day, as usual, like the OP MC he is. He slashes the monster in half with one strike, and then makes clean work of the other bugs, cutting them down with precise attacks. The last one tries to run away, which he can allow, but he will be needing its head, so he casually takes it. The chick is shocked that the level 9 newbie she had insulted just saved her, like she should be. She tries to thank him, but she shouldn't flatter herself, as our boy just needed the head of a bug for something, and saving her was a total coincidence, for he couldn't care less about her life even if he tried. He takes the ant head and throws it down a ditch, making her wonder what he is trying to do, and she is horrified when she finds out. He is using the head of the bug monster as bait to get the attention of the monster chilling down there, the final boss of this world, and true to that, it does show, and not just one, two of them. Just like Lu Feng predicted, 2 giant centipede boss monsters, known as Swofield Giant Centipede, the final boss of this world. The twin centipedes burrow out from underground, looking scary as ever, and the girl is horrified because if the bug monsters they fought earlier were serious trouble, then she is currently in the pits of hell. Ironic, because they're actually battling on a snowman's land. Lu Feng orders her to get as far away as possible if she values her life, and the girl thinks he must be crazy if he thinks he can beat not just 1, but 2 boss-level monsters at the same time. Our MC isn't crazy, but he's definitely going to beat them black and blue. They fire a storm of ice crystals at Lu Feng, but he swiftly deflects and dodges them like he always has done. He then jumps and hitches a ride on one of the centipedes, and that's when the girl becomes sure that the man in front of her definitely has more than a few screws loose. He shoves his blade into the monster's core located at the forehead, and this makes it go absolutely mental. It wriggles and twists, trying to shake our boy off, but he's just playing cowboy rodeo with these overgrown insects. The twin centipedes burrow their way in and out of the ground in an attempt to shake Lu Feng off, but he sticks on like a stubborn bumper sticker that the car owner has grown tired of. The girl is shocked to find out that he's still sticking strong and untouched too, even after all that, and begins to wonder who the hell they had accepted into their team. Tired of the rough roller coaster ride, our MC decides it's time to end this and uses his sword to slice through the centipede, filleting it like fresh fish, then hopping onto its twin brother and doing the same, making fine chef work of both of them. He beheads them, and that's the end of it, with the beasts dying in an explosion. With the bosses gone, a sweet treasure drops as a reward for defeating them. It's a B-rank weapon, dual frost swords with Elsa-like powers that freeze their target and slow movement and attack speed. This is good because now our boy finally has a B-rank weapon which he reckons is just as strong as an A-rank. With the final boss dealt with, the D-rank world is cleared, and all the remaining awakeners will soon be teleported back to the real world. The chick from earlier is still in awe of what just happened, and Xiaya isn't ready to go yet as she's not done with the training. Nevertheless, they're all teleported back in less than a minute, and the people outside are shocked to see only 3 people walk out of the supposed D-rank gate. Xiaya is sour that she didn't get to finish her training, but Lu Feng assures her that she did good enough and will get more chances to level up as they visit different gates. She's hyper for some reason, and demands that they go to another one right now, but our boy tells her to go take a breather or 2 and relax for 2 days. He has some business to sort out before they move forward, and she isn't part of it. At a business firm, a dude who just got fired is desperately begging for his job, wagering the fact that if he should leave the company now, it may make it look bad. But his boss perceives this as a threat, and inquires if he's planning on soiling the company's name once he leaves, which he denies immediately. She cannot rehire someone who basically stole money from the company under the cover of using it for business investments. Or maybe she'll just go ahead and report him to the police, which is a worse case than just losing his job for the man. So he begs her not to. She then orders him to repay every single dime he embezzled from the company by selling all his properties and assets. But since he is a good friend of her father's, and has worked under the company for many years, she takes pity on him and decides to give him free accommodation at the company's nursing home until he passes, which is honestly the best offer the poor dude can receive right now, so he accepts. As he leaves, A secretary comes in after him with a report that a guy claiming to be her teammate keeps coming to see her even after he was rejected. She asks if she should call the police, but An Ya, the CEO and boss who just fired an embezzling employee, tells her not to, saying she'll handle the situation. As the secretary leaves, she stands up to have some hot coffee and take in the view of the city from her window when she spots a weird dude who turns to wave at her. It's Lu Feng, her ex-teammate who won't stop bothering her, and just then, she gets a text from the same guy, jokingly accusing her of spying on him. But she doesn't really care what he thinks, because he's the pervert who won't stop stalking her and leaving her alone. He then tries to make some casual conversation about her choice of clothing, but she won't let him, calling him a bad liar with some psychology tricks and blocking him. She's blushing for some weird reason though. Oh shucks, he fails to reel her in once again. He's not having much luck with Tao Tao, who just wants him to help her with her math homework either. Or Zhao, who's on a secret mission at God knows where. With Luo Shui in Europe, Tao Tao in London, CEO Anya who doesn't want to see him, and Zhao at an unknown location, he begins to fret about how he will get them to join his guild, especially since the foretold catastrophe world is coming only 10 days from now. He wonders if it's maybe time to use other methods to persuade his future friends. Lu Feng is taking all his current guild members to some unknown destination, and our maid assassin has to remind him that she only joined his guild in name and isn't actually planning on joining in any group activities he might be cooking up. He had tricked her by posting a tempting ad for an assassin on the black market, so technically she has to be here. She wonders why this whole family trip has to be in the middle of the night though, so he reveals that he's taking them to a training ground, but that doesn't really answer her question. They arrive at their destination, and it's a massive infrastructure, a military base. Xiaya inquires about the whereabouts of the remaining 4 members of his guild, and he assures them that they will join soon enough. Shadow Dog Boy Li Shijin wonders why there are no people at the base, and our MC reveals that he has actually hacked into the base and misinformed everyone that there had been a leakage of dangerous Shadow World substance, so everyone cleared the base for 15 days as per emergency safety protocol. He says this so nonchalantly like it isn't a big deal, which it probably isn't. Not for him at least, and now they have the entire base to themselves for 2 whole weeks. Xiaya glazes at her boss, because to her, he can do anything apart from having babies. He had to find some way of keeping himself busy back in his repetition days, so there wasn't any harm in picking up one skill or two. He sets his hand out, and after scanning his handprint, the N805 military base grants him full access to all the base's facilities and controls, like it's been waiting for its master to come back. He informs them that this will be their new training ground for the next few days and walks them into the really cool-looking S-65 Aerospace Virtual Training Room, where aerospace fighters go to train. No, they're not going outer space cruising, even though that would be very cool. They'll just be using the simulator pods there to train. Our maid assassin Ling Yu doesn't hesitate to remind Lu Feng that she isn't built for any of this extra work, so she won't even bother participating. You'd think she'd stick with it after all that cocky attitude earlier, but she clearly got interested at some point, because a few minutes later, she's begging for another chance after she loses in the training pods. Her virtual spaceship is destroyed, so she has to chillax for a bit while our MC works his magic in calculating the blast range. She also asks if he could maybe tweak the training mode a bit, and that's no problem for our master hacker, who does it so easily it's scary. He had a lot of time on his hands back in his repetition days, so he got into many weird hobbies like studying spaceship designs, ecology, and other weird space stuff. Xiaya is especially excited about this whole ordeal, as playing with weightless rotation and realistic damage is so cool to her, but Lu Feng reminds her that they're not here to have fun, and that he has already set up a training room for her to train her mental abilities. She agrees but notices that Li Shijin is struggling with his training, panting like he just finished a marathon. In survival mode, you have to dodge virtual meteors and energy tornadoes, increasing your mental spirit power. Perfect for psychic ability users, and there's also attack mode that requires you to destroy targets and helps increase focus. Xiaya takes on survival mode, Ling Yu deals with attack mode, and our Shadow Dog Boy Li Shijin plays both of them combined. Lu Feng starts a new round, and they face the music immediately, as with a lot of target practice, spinning, and teeth grinding, they face a virtual simulation of space battles. Our MC informs Li Shijin that the double mode is supposed to help him with his emotions, since it trains both mental spirit abilities and focus, and reminds him of the breathing technique he taught him. After hours of playing, the team lays on the floor completely exhausted and starving, having spent all their energy. They're barely down for 5 minutes when their devilish boss informs them that break time is over. It might be a cruel and harsh training schedule, but it will be nothing compared to the hell they're about to face when the catastrophe-class world finally arrives. After a week at this hellish training, the trio are recovering in some medical pods with healing liquids in them, at the sick bay in the base. Ling Yu is the first to step out and puts on her clothes, feeling refreshed after the healing process. Lu Feng commends her for her speedy recovery, as she's always the first to finish healing, and takes her to go see her training results. At training, Ling Yu uses the aerospace virtual battlefield to train her attack abilities, determined to achieve better results this time around. At her signal, Lu Feng starts the training and a swarm of artificially intelligent robotic dogs rushes over to attack her. She quickly whips out her twin babies, her guns, and starts firing at them with precise targeting. As she destroys one, another takes its place, and she notices that their speed has increased. They soon try to gang up on her, but she moves swiftly, using one as a pedal stool to jump and fire from the air. Too bad for them, for her speed has also increased greatly. After the training, the system shows that her accuracy has increased by 35%, her aiming speed by 40%, and her overall damage rate by 43%, which is not a bad result. But Lu Feng advises her to work on her recoil recovery. At the gravity room, Xia Ye trains in zero gravity, working on her balance and adapting to weightlessness whilst dodging giant balls with her mental spirit burst. She can easily hold 2, and when 4 more come in, she can hold them off too. She's feeling confident now, but that soon drowns when her hellish trainer decides to increase the balls to 40, when he's well aware that she can only handle about 10 balls at once. She pleads with him, but he totally ignores her and increases the balls anyway, and she begins to struggle as she can't handle that many, and even begins to give up on life itself. But Lu Feng advises her to try compressing her ability to its limit and releasing it all at once, instantly. She does as he said and unlocks a new skill, turning Avatar State Mode and blowing all the balls away from her. Her new skill, Astral Zone, locks all the balls in place, and she's more than excited about it, so much so that her overconfidence kicks in again, and suddenly she wants to go raid other shadow worlds. Lu Feng commends her ability, for even among other psychic abilities, she'll definitely be his trump card in battle. At the obstacle course, the Shadow Wolf is attempting to complete it, dodging mine bombs that are littered all over the place, under the commands of his master Lin Shijin. It goes out of control and accidentally activates a bomb that blows right in its face, reducing it to a shadow that returns to Lin Shijin. He is extremely disappointed in himself, and in the fact that he couldn't even complete the stupid obstacle course. His trainer, Lu Feng, reminds him of where he started, from only being able to control the wolf for a few 7 seconds before it goes berserk again to being able to hold it for a whole 3 minutes, which is pretty impressive. He disagrees with this though, as 3 minutes is a relatively short amount of time, but Lu Feng reveals to him that in battle, having destructive power for even as little as 3 seconds is enough to come out on top. They all did their best, but now it's time to leave. With that, their 2-week-long hellish training camp comes to an end. He advises them to go home and rest, but Jiaya is just finally happy to be able to go home and test her new skills on actual people. And Lin Shujin has a lot of homework to catch up on, so he's not as excited as her. Our MC reckons that the catastrophe rank world will be coming in only 3 days, and he is still at level 13 now, so he has some intense leveling up to do. Time is ticking, with only 72 hours left. It's a beautiful morning and Lu Feng is catching up on some much-needed beauty sleep when his phone interrupts his tranquility. He picks up and his sister yells his eardrums out from the other end, complaining about all the stuff he did at her work yesterday, so he tiredly explains how he just fixed some things like she had asked him to. But the sister complains that he went overboard by fixing the car, the skeleton, and even going as far as giving random people free needle acupuncture massages. There's a fine difference between just helping around a bit and entirely taking over the whole place. She was the best worker in the place, and now no one might even remember her, all thanks to her dumb but capable brother, so she tells him never to come to her workplace ever again, and he wants to explain to her that his intentions were pure, but she hangs up. You'd think a girl would be more grateful for having such an awesome brother as our MC. He then gets a notification from Tao Tao. She had wanted him to help tutor her today, but unfortunately, he already has plans. She then reminds him of their agreement, that if he tutors her 5 times, she would join his guild. So as a compromise, he invites her to join him in the shadow world while he grinds some monsters, and he can give her some free lessons there. He has only 2 days before the catastrophe world begins, and he has some intense leveling up to do. No time to keep sleeping about, that's for sure. They need to pay the C-rank shadow world, old abandoned town, a visit. At the C-rank Shadow World, Lu Feng pays a visit with Tao Tao, who's buried in her laptop. He asks if she even cares to know how he knows this place so well. But nope, she'd rather tap keys while walking on unknown territory instead. Soon they see a group of people walking towards them like zombies that haven't seen food for days. So he signals her that it's time to battle. But she pays no heed. Still buried in her laptop. A man from the group of people totally freaks out and transforms into a mean-looking werewolf. And that's more than enough to grab her attention. He pounces towards them, and our MC goes in with his dual ice blades without wasting any time. He uses its active skill to slow down the werewolf, and then makes swift work of him, beheading him with a single slash. He then orders Tao Tao to give him 2 buffs, Silver Level Attack Enhancement and Saint's Blessing, as more werewolves gather to attack him all at once with intense rage. She grants him the buffs but is worried that he can't take them all at the same time. Think again, sister, because he swiftly deals with all of them, slashing and dicing till there's no one left standing, but a pile of dead werewolf bodies and his level increasing rapidly. With the buff, his attack power increases exponentially, and he is able to deal way more damage, and the werewolves grant 5 times more XP, which is great for someone whose goal is to level up as quickly as possible. Tao Tao concludes that he must have just wanted to use her as a tool to level up faster instead of actually tutoring her, but he explains that he is still here to help. She just hasn't asked him any questions yet, while he's still grinding monsters. She goes ahead and asks him one complicated question that would give even the smartest professors a headache, and asks for an explanation while she keys in the answer on her laptop. He tells her to try solving it on her own, as she must always try taking a problem head-on before asking or relying on someone else for help. Of course, she's not happy with this, and he requests more buffs which she refuses to give him, wanting to preserve her magic power, and besides, he has finished grinding all the monsters, but he reveals that he wants to go on to the next area as soon as possible and needs her buffs twice as fast. She understands for sure now that he's definitely treating her like a tool. They move to the next spot where they find a group of skeleton mages just chilling on their own. She tries to explain that so many high-level skeletons will definitely be too much to handle for a human like him, but all he cares about is the fact that they give way more XP, which is exactly what the doctor prescribed for him. She then inquires about how many levels he's even hoping to reach in this shadow world, and he reveals to her that he plans on reaching level 21. For her, it's absolutely crazy for someone to want leveling up so bad in just one raid, unless he plans on staying in this world for at least a week, but he informs her that he actually only has 24 hours to complete his level goal, which is even crazier. She is lost on how he intends to reach that level in such a short amount of time, but he just ignores her and asks for more buffs. This time he wants Saint's Blessing, Light Attribute Attack, and Flash Speed. She then remembers when he told her to ask him any questions, and keeps on whining like the baby she is. She still has an unanswered question on her laptop, so he promises to give her the answers right away this time around. She grants him the buffs, and he jumps right in the middle of the skeleton monsters to attack. They try to counter by conjuring some deadly lightning strikes, but our MC jumps and dodges the attacks, then lands his own attack, dealing great damage and making clean work of them without breaking a sweat. He levels up quickly as a result and goes on to finish up the rest of the monsters. Tao Tao senses that he isn't giving her the answers he promised and demands for them, but he tells her to look at the rock face in front of her, and what she sees shocks her to the core. He had written the correct answer on the wall mid-battle with his swords without her even noticing. She has no idea when he found the breathing air to even think about the question, let alone carve it in on a freaking wall. After a short while, Lu Feng is done dealing with all the skeleton monsters but is only at level 17, still quite far from his goal. He signals to Tao Tao that they leave, as the leveling is now getting slow. She is surprised at how fast he's working, and reminds him that even if they somehow manage to defeat the final boss, he still won't get up to level 21. He tells her not to worry, as he already has something planned, and requests 2 boost buffs as usual. She sees the need to remind him that she's only here to study, and not to be his tool for grinding monsters and leveling up, as if that makes any sense. At a creepy graveyard with dead trees and skeleton heads laying around like it's Halloween, Lu Feng casually gives Tao Tao some science lessons regarding the fact that they're currently in the Headless Valley, the home of the final boss. She is curious as to why he's suddenly so eager to help her instead of finding the boss monster like he normally does, and just then, he notices that his prey has finally arrived. They duck and hide behind a headstone while a headless dude in knight armor comes riding on a freaky-looking horse. It's the final boss, Headless Skeleton General, and he's quite the intimidating fellow. This time around, Lu Feng requests 5 boosts: Saint's Blessing, Light's Loneliness, Darkness's Anger, Whirlwind Strength, and Lightning Rhythm. But she's still freaked out by the fact that they are face to face with a super strong boss that's not playing with them. She eventually grants him all the buffs but is extremely worn out after casting so many high-level buffs at the same time. Our MC thanks her warmly for this and assures her he'll repay her 1,000 times as much. Even though she doesn't believe him as usual, she warns him that the opponent is nothing to joke about, as one strike from him is instant game over. He tells her to just focus on her homework and not to hesitate to ask him any questions while he kicks some boss monster butt. The headless skeleton general notices him as he approaches and swears to bury his soul there for eternity, which is kind of a harsh punishment for just mere trespassing. The general charges in and strikes, but our boy swiftly dodges it like it's nothing. He then counterattacks, but his multiple attacks are intercepted and blocked by the general's impenetrable defense shield, so none of his attacks are connecting. Cao Cao reckons that the boss's MP and HP are both maxed out, which spells trouble for anyone stupid enough to face him alone. And she begins to worry about Lu Feng. She's even more worried when he begins to provoke the headless skeleton general, at this point begging to be slain by this monster. The headless skeleton general is naturally enraged by his cockiness and rushes in for an attack, destroying the earth beneath him on the way and sending an earthquake shockwave towards him. Lu Feng quickly dodges and assures Cao Cao to focus on her homework while he deals with this headless idiot, as there's not an ice's chance in hell that it can touch him. She reminds him that he can't touch it either because of that dumb, impenetrable shield it's got, and he will definitely lose if the battle turns out to be a stamina tug-of-war. He informs her that that's the reason why he brought her along, and she finally catches him admitting to just wanting to use her as a leveling-up tool. He keeps provoking the headless skeleton general to chase him while he hops over a wedge of 2 stones and watches it get stuck in between the rocks. Cao Cao realizes that that was his devious plan all along, to trap the boss monster so that he can take his sweet time dealing with it and its dumb barrier. He instructs her to cast a high-class magic spell, Fire Pillar, on it, and she does, sending a sky-high rain of flames on the poor monster, and threatening to do the same to our MC if he doesn't find a way to make it up to her. It tries to defend with its barrier at first, but the flames start to get through. Cao Cao doesn't fail to point out the fact that he's letting a kid do all the work while he's just chilling and waiting to land the final blow, taking the glory, but our ruthless MC doesn't really care as long as he's the victor at the end. After a while of fiery torture, the headless skeleton general is weakened, and Cao Cao is relieved that they can finally finish him now. However, Lu Feng tells her not to let her guard down, as he still has to go in and land the final blow, and the monster can still very much vaporize them even in this weakened state. He goes in and lands a critical blow and finishes it, and that's the end of that, increasing his level to 19. Cao Cao then points out the fact that they'll soon be teleported, as the boss monster has been defeated, and he still hasn't reached his level goal yet. At least, that was what Cao Cao thought, until she saw a second boss monster appear from nowhere. She probably should have guessed something was off when the system didn't alert them after he slayed the final boss. She then realizes that Lu Feng had used the light seed magic to revive the very same boss monster he had just slain, only to battle it again like the psycho he is. She gives him buffs, and he goes to challenge that monster again, and they go through the same battle all over, and he wins, again. This time, the system recognizes it and begins teleporting them back. Cao Cao, now completely exhausted, is just glad that this hell of a raid is finally over and she can get back to sweet human land. The headless skeleton general dissolves away, and our boy collects the sweet drop rewards it leaves behind. Among them is the S-Class impenetrable protection shield that belonged to the headless skeleton general, which shocks Cao Cao because it is extremely rare, with a drop rate close to 0. He can now use it since he's level 21, and he reckons that it will increase their chances of survival in the catastrophe rank shadow world that is to come by about 20%. With that, they leave the world, and it's just another successful raid. It's still 24 hours until everyone is forcefully transported to the catastrophe rank world, and our busty princess Luo Shui is facing off against some chick in a grand tournament. She goes in for a strike and ends the match in one move, with her opponent on her knees and admitting defeat. She is declared the winner, and the crowd goes wild because after challenging 17 different families and scoring 17 consecutive wins, she beat every single one of them, achieving a perfect victory and setting a new record. She has finally restored her once-fallen family name, and the crowd praises her excessively, calling her a goddess. While she collects her praise, she receives yet another message from her stalker and is honestly impressed by the fact that this is his 31st account, as she keeps blocking him. She admits that he might be strong, but she really doesn't care much for liars, so she doesn't hesitate to decline and block him once again. Meanwhile, at another location, some armed thieves are rejoicing in the fact that they've found some weapons to steal and are already counting how much cash they can get from selling them. However, their joy is cut short when a madman bursts into the room and starts raining bullets on them like it's a world war. They panic when he whips out a bazooka, aims, and fires at them without even flinching. The madman, Zhao Haishan, leaves after a job well done, only to receive another notification, which he assumes is just more spam mail and ignores it. While all this is happening, our CEO Anya is at a conference where she's introducing a new technology, the AHP company's 5th-generation nanobots, to her audience. She explains that with evolving technology, the role of nanobots in medicine has become apparent. And with her company's newest domestic nanobots, it will be suitable for late-night workers and even the elderly. Before she can continue with the presentation, she politely requests that the suspicious-looking fellow at the back be escorted out. The security drags Lu Feng out the door, ignoring his claims of being a good person, and Anya's secretary is shocked that Anya could tell it was him even with the disguise. She begins to worry that she might be becoming just as weird after spending time with him. Time passes, and now it's only 3 hours before the catastrophe rank world comes to claim them all. Lu Feng holds an online meeting with his guild members via video call, and they discuss strategy. Xia notices the huge bags under his eyes, but he explains that he just got back from a really tiring conference. He tells Tao Tao, who is busy playing on her phone, to quit it. Tao Tao whines about only having time to play on the weekends and points out that the maid assassin, Ling Yu, also isn't listening, even though she is, but always has that blank expression. However, when he gets serious, no one needs to tell her to drop her phone and listen when her boss is talking. Lu Feng gets straight to the point and breaks down the situation, not mincing words as he informs them of the unavoidable catastrophe rank world that is coming for them and all other awakeners. If they're lucky, it might just be a B rank, but if luck isn't on their side, it could turn out to be an S rank shadow world, which is truly the worst case scenario. This terrifies the group, but he goes on to give rules regardless. 1. They're not to move beyond 50 meters from him. 2. Unless he declares an area safe, they are to keep their guard up at all times, regardless of where they are. After explaining, he asks if there are any questions. They inquire about the rest of his proposed guild members who should have joined by now. He assures them that he still has time to figure that part out. Tao Tao, being as stubborn as usual, doesn't believe him, but he doesn't really care. It's now 1 minute before the catastrophe rank world comes for them, and military commander Zhao Haishan looks down at an old picture of himself and his soldiers when his system alerts him that he has just successfully joined a guild he has no knowledge of. He doesn't know what just happened and blames it on his old age. 24 seconds remain, and Luo Shui is wiping her blade when the system alerts her that she has joined her stalker's guild without her consent. CEO Anya also gets the same notification, but she is able to immediately deduce that it's the work of the pervert. She begins to wonder how he hacked into the shadow system, or if he had someone else behind him. 10 seconds left, and Tao Tao realizes Lu Feng's plan is to force them to join. Since Awakeners have to wait 5 minutes before they can leave a guild after joining, by then they will have already been teleported to the catastrophe rank world. Lu Feng tells everyone to get ready as the time ticks down to 0, swearing to bring everyone back alive again. They all get teleported, just like our MC predicted. Just as he planned, the system teleports all of them together as a group, including the 3 who didn't want to be there in the first place. Luo Shui immediately starts to question Lu Feng for using such a shameless method to force them here. Zhao Haishan has no idea what just happened and believes it's some kind of crazy coincidence that he's reunited with his teammates, but Anya tells them all to pay attention to the trouble ahead. They have been teleported into a world where one half is made of fire while the other half is made of ice. Anya is terrified when she realizes that they were teleported to an S-rank shadow world known as the Realm of Ice and Fire. She had only heard of it before and never dared to imagine it actually existed. Lu Feng continues to explain that the center of the world is known as the Death Circle. On one half is fire, and on the other is ice. The circle will keep expanding, and after some time, it will cover the entire city, and then the entire world will be destroyed along with anything or anyone still in it. That's why he wanted all of them together in this catastrophe rank world, because the death rate here is 100%, which means literally no one who has been here has made it out alive before. It seems they're definitely not the only ones who got teleported to this world. Many other Awakeners were transported as well, but none of them are half as prepared as our MC and his guild members, so they run and panic as they try to make sense of what exactly is going on. One thing's for sure, The black hole in the middle of the city is trouble, so they all run away from it, past our MC and his gang who don't even take a step back. Unlike them, Lu Feng knows that the more they try to escape, the more they seal their fate. Anya turns to him for help, inquiring about his plan to escape the 100% death rate of this world. So he explains to her that they'll have to understand what exactly happened in this city. Turns out that the death hollow of a world they're currently in actually used to be a thriving technological city. And the founder, Steelheart, was a crazy scientist who had turned himself into a freaky cyborg, all for the sake of mad power. Due to his obsession, he stupidly integrated himself with an unhinged ultimate master chip that took over his mind and made him go berserk. The now uncontrollable Steelheart caused the hot flames and freezing ice of the city, resulting in the chaos currently enveloping the place they're in. Jaya deduces that they will have to eliminate this Steelheart dude to clear the world, but Lu Feng reveals that he's right in the middle of the death circle, the same one that gives any player dumb enough to step in it an instant game over. And it's located in the middle of intense scorching and freezing weather conditions, which means he's basically untouchable. But they don't have a choice. Luo Shui immediately disagrees with Lu Feng as usual and wants to go on her own, asking Anya to follow her. Lu Feng nonchalantly stops her and reminds her of his 50-meter rule. She has to stay close to him at all times so he can protect her if anything comes up. But of course, her cocky attitude doesn't let her agree, and she's ready to battle him then and there over it too. He informs her that using force to take her with him is totally off limits, and this is quickly turning into serious beef between our MC and the dumb, cocky swordswoman. Anya hops in just in time to stop them from fighting and explains to Luo Shui that they can't be fighting at a time like this. Unity is crucial if they're going to survive this chaos. And since Lu Feng seems to know what he's doing, it's probably not the worst idea to follow him for now. But if she finds out he's lying, she even promises to join Luo Shui in taking him down. Luo Shui reluctantly agrees to this arrangement, having to obviously bite her stupid humongous ego to do so. Lu Feng orders Tao Tao to stop playing on her phone again, but she whines that this may be the last time she gets to play and even points out that Zhao Haishan is drinking, so she should be allowed to have some fun too. And boy, Zhao did leave the land of the sober a long time ago. Lu Feng honestly couldn't care less if his guild members believe him or not. He's still as determined to save them as he was before, so he leads his team into the fiery part of the city. Anya asks her stalker what his reason was for choosing the flaming part of the city, and Lu Feng explains that the cold from the ice section would slow them down, and he can't take the risk of not being able to protect them quickly. The flaming part isn't any better than the cold section though, as it's scorching hot and just as dangerous. He assures his team that he has a plan and goes forward with his blade. Some Egyptian mummy-looking monsters begin to spawn out of nowhere, and our MC deals with them swiftly. When they disintegrate, they leave a chip-like object, which Anya recognizes as a fire immunity chip that will keep the user from boiling for about 3 minutes. She realizes that all the monsters are technology products, and if they gather enough chips, they can actually make it out of here without turning into burnt steak. Lu Feng agrees with this and goes further to explain that they'll need to keep it up for 2 hours, which is how long it will take the death circle to engulf the entire world, as it expands every 30 minutes. Tao Tao calculates that they'll need a whole lot of chips if they want to keep everyone safe from the flames, about 350 to be exact. So they better get to work fast, and Tao Tao returns to being just a buffing tool, which suits a whiny baby like her. More mummies start appearing, so they prep for battle, and Tao Tao grants the entire gang a buff as requested. The monster wiping can commence. Zhao Haishan adopts the style of the drunken master, fighting while still heavily under the influence, just making himself twice as crazy as usual. Anya punches her way through the monsters, and Luo Shui slices and dices like usual. Ling Yu snipes her targets from a distance, and the Shadow Wolf wipes out a good amount of them as well. Li Shijin struggles to stay in control, but he manages to keep the dog in check, with encouragement from Jiaya, who's bursting heads with her mental spirit burst power. With 15 minutes left till the next expansion, Lu Feng orders his team to hurry up and finish off these monsters before another set comes to take their place. 6 minutes till the expansion, and they're done clearing most of the monsters. Lu Feng asks the CEO how many chips they still need, and she informs him that they're still short of 30 chips. There isn't much time left, so Lu Feng comes up with a better idea, to attract the monsters to them instead. He crushes an S-rank magic crystal bait item that attracts monsters, and it does its job damn well. The next minute, a huge creature comes to them like a moth to a flame. It's an artificially made sphinx, or just an Egyptian dog with a freaky face. And it's huge. Buckle up, because the remaining fire immunity chips they need just came knocking on their door, and Lu Feng is excited that this overgrown dog might just drop more than chips. The Sphinx attacks, but Lu Feng dodges and counterattacks, slicing off one of its legs with his dual ice blades. He then orders Xia Ya, and she attacks with her mental abilities, lifting multiple vehicles and throwing them at the monster. Luo Shui then uses a special skill that transcends even stars themselves, like an actual goddess, and rains down her judgment sword on the poor beast, dealing critical damage and slicing it clean in half, destroying it. They get a whole 50 fire immunity chips from it, and Lu Feng recognizes Luo Shui's ability, even though she still won't believe him. He offers her the ring that drops from the monster, and she immediately refuses it, panicking and blushing, but our MC explains to her that it's just a magic item to help reduce her special skill's cooldown time, and wonders what she thinks he was implying. As she looks at the A-rank magic item known as the Sword's Path that can only be worn by swordmasters, she realizes she just blushed for nothing. Her daydreaming is interrupted by some thugs who had captured the team's sniper, who had been a distance away from the ground, on top of a building. Luo Shui demands they identify themselves, but Ling Yu already knows they're assassins from one of the top 10 assassin guilds in the world, the Black Fog. They demand the gang hand over all their chips, or the maid gets it, just like they dealt with all the other guilds. Xiaya turns to her boss for help, but he just calmly asks Anya to hand him all the chips, and she does so, understanding what he actually meant. He then casually walks over and tries to strike a deal with them. They promise to hand over Ling Yu in exchange for all the chips, and they don't fail to remind him that they have other assassins scattered around the place in case he does anything funny. Devious Lu Feng uses mind games to stall them, asking them to check if the chips are legit until he is ready to set his plan in motion. Once the 6 minutes left before the expansion are over, he uses the chips on himself, and once his team sees this, they do the same, because he clearly didn't take all the chips before, and that grants them fire immunity as the expansion begins. As the death circle expands, the fire begins to spread rapidly, now covering whole buildings, and before the assassins can understand that they've just been played by our MC, the fire reaches them, burning them to a crisp. Ling is protected, though, by the impenetrable shield of the headless skeleton general that Tao Tao immediately recognizes, and she deduces that he must have put the mark on her earlier. It is only Anya who understands what is truly going on, as she realizes that Lu Feng isn't a normal human. He anticipated that Ling Yu would be attacked because she was the only one alone as the sniper, and he prepared for that outcome while simultaneously timing the expansion, so it wipes out all his enemies without him having to lift a finger. She sure is glad that he's on her side now, and he beckons them to move on as they continue their journey toward the death circle. The flames are now everywhere, engulfing that entire section of the city and bringing down buildings. The gang is safe though, but only because of the fire immunity chips, and Lu Feng orders them to stay close to him as he leads the way like a pro who's been here before. He explains that in his 3,000 years of repeating the same day, he had come across and studied a map of the shadow world, and the cocky goddess scoffs at this. Xiaya notices that Luo Shui still won't believe him even after all that has happened, but Tao Tao explains to her that although Lu Feng is strong, he is also an awfully mysterious person. And Luo Shui, on the other hand, is kind but not naive, and will definitely suspect someone claiming to have repeated one day for 3,000 years. They soon spot another group of people who are also making it through the flames somehow, by using fire-resistant protective gear. They might look like they came prepared, but Zhao Haishan points out that such gear probably won't last in such harsh conditions. Just then, they are hit by an intense earthquake that catches them off guard, but Lu Feng immediately commands them to hush and hide, for something very big and terrifying is coming. They're giant monsters that look like those Egyptian deities with canine features, known as the Apocalypse Patrol Team, and they're much bigger than the Sphinx from earlier. The unfortunate fellas with fireproof protective gear are the first to encounter these mighty monsters, and they are terrified at the sight. They immediately open fire, shooting like their lives depend on it, because they probably do depend on it, and they even whip out a bazooka and shoot at it. This causes some minimal damage, but the monster immediately regenerates within seconds, to the horror of the group. It is now its turn to attack, and it brings down a freaking hammer on the folks in protective gear, flattening them like pancakes. Lu Feng and his group watch all this happening from a distance, as he explains that those things are high-level monsters known as the scavengers of the shadow world, with strength and regenerative stats so high that they are practically immortal. And Ya wonders how they're supposed to fight and defeat the final boss if they can't even touch these monsters. Then the monsters in question notice them, and Lu Feng orders everyone to stay still. His plan is to distract the monsters and buy his guild members some time while they make a run for the center of the death circle. Luo Shui stubbornly objects to this plan, not wanting to allow Lu Feng to face them alone, but our boy calmly stabs her in the neck with his hand, making her unconscious to the shock of everyone else. He hands the sleeping goddess to his other guild members as he isn't in any way ready to deal with her attitude right now. He assures them that he's going to be just fine on his own. Having lived 3,000 years already, he would be a tough one to beat, even for these monsters. With that, he charges straight at the monsters and tries drawing their attention, while the rest of the gang uses the chance to make a run for it, just like he instructed. Li Shujin looks back and gets worried as he sees his mentor surrounded by huge scary beasts, but Xiaya encourages him to keep going and have faith in their boss. Zhao swears to have a drinking session with that man if he makes it out of this fiasco alive. Meanwhile, our sleeping goddess, who's riding piggyback on Anya, begins to regain consciousness slowly. One of the beasts immediately goes for an attack, but Lu Feng dodges, runs up its arm to its face and stabs it in the eye, blinding it. He reckons that even though they regenerate extremely fast, 10 seconds is more than enough time for him. Even in its blind state, the monster keeps attacking, so our MC lands on another monster, and just like he hoped, the attack from the first one follows him all the way and strikes the second one, giving Lu Feng a chance to escape in all the chaos he just created. He leaps and reaches for a building, but he's a few meters short and almost misses the edge he's supposed to grab onto, until a hand grabs him just in time before he falls to his doom. It's none other than the sleeping goddess Luo Shui, who had regained consciousness and rushed to help him anyway, despite his orders. He yells at her for still being here, but she yells back, informing him that she's no damsel in distress to be saved by a big strong hero. He should be more worried about his own hide, and she'll always fight next to those important to her. She had let that last part slip out by accident, and our boy heard it, but she waves it off as allies, all blushing and stuff. Memories of the past come flooding back to Lu Feng, times when he fought dragons and other creatures with his goddess Luo Shui, dying next to her only to repeat the same day. It makes him chuckle a bit, and when she asks him what he thinks is funny, he reveals to her that he actually cares about her a lot. Then he pushes her out of the way, and they both dodge a power blast from the monsters. She has butterflies in her stomach as the man lies on top of her, but they should probably wait till they're no longer in mortal danger, as their little romantic moment is interrupted by more deadly blasts from the monsters. Lu Feng picks her up and carries her like an actual damsel in distress, making a run for it and dodging attacks at the same time. She apologizes for not being much help before, saying he probably would have found a way out of that mess without her being there. But he thanks her instead for coming and reveals that she always came through for him in the past as his goddess. He only wishes she would listen to him more, though. She's not a big fan of being called his goddess, but she'll have to keep shut as he carries her out of harm's way. The rest of the gang are still on the run when they notice that their boss is catching up to them with Luo Shui safe in his arms, thanking their stars that they both made it out alive. When they are all reunited, the busty goddess requests to be put down, and our MC admits that he had totally forgotten that he still had her in his arms. The gang makes fun of their behavior and tells them to just get married if they're so obsessed with each other, a joke Luo Shui doesn't find funny in the slightest. Anya is the only one who knows that the busty goddess hasn't had any real experience with love, and will probably end up falling for her stalker instead. Just then, something collapses in front of them, and their path forward is blocked. They think of retreating, so they turn back, only to find giant angry monsters waiting for them. So that's definitely not a good idea. They're trapped with no way forward or back, and Tao Tao begins to panic. But Lu Feng assures her and the rest of his gang that he's not going to let even one of them die, not on his watch. The giant, intimidating monsters are hot on their trail, so Lu Feng leads his team up a staircase. Even though they have no idea where they're going, they also have no other choice but to trust their leader. On the way up, little Tao Tao missteps and twists her ankle, making her incapable of moving, but Luo Shui quickly carries her in her arms and keeps moving, and Tao Tao, who should be in pain, is busy enjoying being carried by her goddess, dreaming about how she would boast about it if she could just make it out of here alive. They arrive at their destination, and it's a big vault door, made with special fire-resistant materials, that Lu Feng reveals is the city's defense center, the Battle Command Department. He quickly puts his top-notch hacking skills to use, but Luo Shui is worried that hiding here won't stop the monsters from getting to them, so he assures her that he has a plan. He easily hacks into the system and gets the door to open for them. And Ya wants to know how he did it, so Xiaya steps in to boast about how hacking into anything is a piece of cake for her boss, even a freaking military base. She must have forgotten that Anya is a very influential person in the country, and mentioning that our boy hacked into a high-class military system is probably not the best idea, so now Lu Feng will have some explaining to do when all this is over. They walk into a massive control room, and they can't relax as they see the monsters clearly from the window. Lu Feng is doing some coding stuff on the computer when the gang notices that someone is standing on one of the monsters, with something like a crystal, which Anya recognizes as an S-rank magic tool that can control any monster even without any knowledge of monster taming, known as the puppet crystal, and deduces that he must be using it to control the monsters. They realize that they are in deep trouble, remembering what they did to the last man who came after them, who is probably related to this one somehow. He must have come for revenge, so they start to rethink their decision to stay in the control room. But Lu Feng assures them that the room is built like an impenetrable fortress, so they are definitely safe. Although he doesn't like the idea of just sitting around and doing nothing either, so he's definitely going to act, and commands Tao Tao to do her thing, just like he taught her. She doesn't fail to remind him that he's just a line away from child abuse with all these commands, and Luo Shui is also worried that she can't handle it, but Lu Feng assures them that he trained her personally. The monsters have surrounded the facility now, and one of the members of Black Fog comes to report to his boss that they have the whole area surrounded, but he's too busy being mad at our MC and his guild for what they did to his vice captain. Soon, he notices something coming out of the building's side, things like small cannons that produce fog, obscuring their vision. Lu Feng, now standing on top of the building, commands Tao Tao to keep the command center's defense fog going to keep the enemy from seeing squat while he takes care of the rest. He then jumps right into the middle and attacks one of the members of Black Fog, jumping to attack the leader next, but the dude blocks it with a death scythe, swearing to end the people who ended his people. The leader then attacks with his scythe, but it doesn't even connect with Lu Feng, as it's blocked by his defensive barrier he got from defeating the headless skeleton general. The leader is confused that a level 40 attack is blocked by a lowly level 20 rookie, but the powerful barrier that Lu Feng has can block all attacks from level 50 and below. He informs him about this as he swiftly slashes him with his dual swords, finishing the leader with one strike. Once the other members of the Assassin's Guild see their leader is down, they begin firing bullets at our boy, determined to kill him, but he casually uses the now dead leader as a human shield. They are taken care of, though, by our maid sniper Ling Yu, who shoots them down from a distance. Now with the power of the crystal he obtains from the leader of Black Fog, he commands the monsters, and they all kneel to him like he's their Egyptian god or something. The gang witnesses all of this safely from the window, and Jia is so impressed by her boss's workings that she wants to follow him for the rest of her life. She might have meant marriage, but she's a street girl and she's weird. He then tells them that he's going ahead to deal with the boss, and Luo Shui protests about him going alone as usual, but this time everyone is kind of worried that he might not be able to handle it. He entrusts her to Anya and assures everybody that he'll be just fine, and swears once again to bring everyone back safely, then leaves with his new army of giant Egyptian monsters. Anya calms Luo Shui down, reminding her that they're too weak to even come near the final boss of this world, and if anyone has a chance, it would probably be their stalker of a leader. Zhao Haishan swears to have a drink with the boy once he returns, and the entire team prays for his victory, as all they can do is watch from a safe corner just like before. Only 30 minutes till the final expansion. At the ice part of the world that's at the Death Center, a group of terrified awakeners that look like they could piss their pants any minute are hiding, when one of them, a familiar character who's probably the leader of the three, tries to take a look outside, but missiles immediately come for her and blow up the cover that is right in front of them. Luckily, the explosion somehow covers up their presence, so well that when a robot comes to check whether it did a clean job, after scanning, it detects no life. It's not just one. Several more of the robots are roaming around the area at the very core of the death circle, where the scorching flaming side and freezing icy section meet. The three awakeners are relieved that the robots are leaving after detecting no life, but they're still panicking because out of the 100 awakeners that got teleported from their guild, they are the only ones left. Sister Lin, who seems to be in charge, admits that she underestimated the final boss, and even his clone robots were enough to almost completely annihilate them. They'd have a rat's chance against the actual Steelheart. The two remaining Awakeners don't blame her for what happened, as they know that they had to attack Steelheart or they'd be gone anyway, but wish desperately that their guild leader Aliston is here, as he might be the only one that can actually stand a chance against the monster. But their guild is too big, and not all their members were teleported to the same place, so it's no use wishing for Aliston. He isn't coming, and the final expansion is well on the way. It's almost time for the final expansion, so they just have to survive it, which is basically impossible, by the way. Just then they notice a horde of giant Egyptian monsters heading toward them, and Lin recognizes them as the Apocalypse Patrol Team. If they were scared before, they're horrified now as they fear that it is all part of Steelheart's master plan to eliminate them all. But then monsters start crushing the robots to the surprise of everyone, and the extremely cheap Iron Man wannabes attack back with their missiles, turning the confrontation into a full-blown war. The members of Alliston's guild stand in awe as they witness two powerful forces that are supposed to be on the same side battle each other, which is just total madness to say the least, and Lin is shocked to spot a man on top of one of the monsters, recognizing him immediately as the newbie who took down the final boss of the Black Ruin City, aka our MC, Lu Feng. Steelheart sits patiently as the city's defense system's warning goes off after detecting that way too many enemies are invading the core, activating the auto-defense system and releasing more robots. They engage with the giant monsters, and the monsters attack with the energy blasts from their magic staff while the tin cans fire missiles at them. But the monsters emerge victorious, destroying every last one of them. The members of Alliston's guild can't believe that Lu Feng, a level 10 newbie, just led an army of monsters to wipe out the entire robot clones, sacrificing 1/3 of the monsters in the process, but achieving victory. Well, former level 10, as one of them pulls out his info page and they discover that he's now slightly above level 20, which is still extremely impressive. Sister Lin wonders if he really thinks he's some sort of god, challenging the final boss of a catastrophe rank world at only level 20. The final battle is about to begin, and the members of the Breaking Dawn Guild are all praying for the safe victory of their leader, Lu Feng, as they watch the entire thing from the command center's surveillance system, tucked away safe somewhere. He, on the other hand, now has nothing standing in between him and the final boss of the catastrophe rank world, except for the tower he's staying in, so he leads his army and commands them to break down the tower and drag Steelheart out of it. The monsters do as he says and attack, demolishing it and completely destroying the tower, and just like he expected, Steelheart comes falling out of it like the last coin after you break the piggy bank. On his way down, he awakens and catches himself with his rocket launcher before he falls with the rubble from the demolished building. Then he gets really mad and begins to rant after seeing that our MC and his army had come looking for a fight, swearing to annihilate the insignificant pests that just interrupted his evolution. Meanwhile, there's only 10 minutes till the final expansion that will basically delete this world from existence, so time is ticking. One of the patrollers tries to attack Steelheart with an axe on Lu Feng's command, and it's really big but slow. Slow enough to allow Steelheart to easily dodge and land a punch in the gut. He adds more force to the punch and is eventually able to send it flying across the city. The next one tries to attack as well, but he transforms his arm into a cannon blaster that shoots right through it and leaves a gaping hole in its chest. Another one uses its staff to send attacks, but he easily blocks them with his force field. He is getting tired of these petty attempts, so he decides to show them what a real attack feels like. He releases multiple missiles that all aim for a single target and deal incredible damage. And all Sister Kin can do is watch as these monsters they thought were so huge and intimidating fall one by one like domino tiles. And she and the rest of her team are left stunned and terrified as they watch the Doomsday Patrol team struggle in a one-sided massacre. As one falls, another rises to take its place until all that is left is the one that Lu Feng, who is controlling them, is standing on. He commands it to attack, and it throws a huge hammer down on Steelheart, which is blocked by his shield, but it cracks it and sends him crashing down on the floor. Lu Feng then hops down and uses his high-frequency vibration to finish the job and finally shatter the barrier into pieces, and it is then that Steelheart realizes that something is wrong. Lu Feng's attack does not stop at breaking the barrier. It also slashes through Steelheart's arm as well, shocking him to the core. The Awakeners on the ground are surprised to see that Lu Feng has somehow obtained the ultra-rare high-frequency sword that was previously hidden somewhere in this realm. Steelheart gets away from our MC's range and puts some distance between them while he repairs his arm, dissing our boy for stooping so low as to use sneak attacks. So Lu Feng promises to face him head-on from now on since Steelheart is not a fan of sneak attacks. He then whips out a little shield that looks like a toy, but it transforms into a huge shield with an ability called 100-fold electromagnetic attraction that he activates, and immediately, it starts forcefully pulling Steelheart towards it. Lu Feng reveals that he got this electromagnetic shield from an armament company and has already tweaked it to go against Steelheart's frequency. Once Steelheart makes contact with the shield, it starts causing major damage, and he tries everything to pull away, but it won't budge, so he activates an attack, an electric storm that generates a large ball of electricity around him, which is enough to break the shield and push Lu Feng away. Steelheart starts to get cocky and disses Lu Feng's attacks as pitiful even though they caused a lot of damage, but Lu Feng catches himself after that attack and reveals that he is not done yet, as he has one more present for him, pointing upward. Steelheart looks up, and to his horror, he spots a huge laser beam that's charging up and aiming right for him, and then the beam fires and completely engulfs him, sending him straight to the ground. After all the smoke clears out, all that is left of Steelheart, but he commands his energy source to start full-body recovery, and it starts self-healing. You would think that Sister Lu and the rest of her team of Awakeners would be used to Lu Feng whipping out crazy weapons and unexpected tricks by now, but nope. They are still shocked to the core to see he obtained the authority to use the Star Rail cannon that comes at the price of the UF satellite's disintegration. Lu Feng looks and sees that the final expansion has started, and it is covering the whole city now. His teammates start to fret and panic, and Su Tao Tao is especially worried because she helped Lu Feng activate the Star Rail cannon like he instructed, but the final boss will only keep getting back up as long as he has that energy source. The 1-minute countdown to when everyone in this world is toast begins, and Steelheart stupidly claims victory of the battle because even though he was beaten black and blue by our MC, it won't stop the death ring from engulfing the whole region in a minute's time, frying everyone in the world except him. But Lu Feng has other plans. Lu Feng whips out that egg he got from his first realm, which had finished incubating in the world of flames, and then hatches it right there and then. What comes out is the gigantic final boss of the realm he had been stuck in for 3,000 years, the steel-winged Colossus. The Awakeners on the ground are left in awe to see that this was Lu Feng's trump card all along, and on his command the monster goes ahead to engage with Steelheart. Steelheart believes that all this is going to be futile in the end. But the steel-winged Colossus is not affected or even slowed down by his attacks, and then sends its steel spider legs at him, using them to overwhelm him and inflict serious damage. At the same time, the countdown is getting dangerously close to 0, and the fire and ice sides are getting ready to erupt, while the Awakeners pray desperately for Lu Feng's plan to work. Just then, Lu Feng calmly orders his pet steel-winged Colossus to devour Steelheart's energy core, and so it rips it out straight from his chest and gobbles the whole thing up like a snack, right as the countdown is about to hit 0. Then it leaves Steelheart to fall to his doom, and he lands splat on the floor like a squished bug. Just as the countdown reaches 0 and the death circle starts, the system announces that the final boss of the catastrophe rank world has been defeated, and that marks the end of the mission, so every Awakener will be transported back in a minute. Sister Lin notices that Lu Feng's pet boss monster has gone back to incubation mode in order to absorb the energy core, and she wonders how long it would take to absorb something like that. But what she is sure of is the fact that the steel-winged Colossus will definitely be a whole lot more terrifying once it finishes absorbing that thing. And the rest of her team are just happy to be alive and have survived this death trap of a world. Luo Shui and Anya are surprised that he actually pulled it off and kept his word, and they begin to wonder if all that talk about repeating one day for 3,000 years is really crazy. Anya notices that his actual guild members are happy and so confident in their boss, while Su Tao Tao, who almost died of anxiety, just wants to go home and play her life away in video games. Ling Yu loyally waits for her master's return, and on his way back, Lu Feng is already thinking about the next forced transmission, which is predicted to be a death world like never seen before. By the Shadow Realm's formula, all knowledge he has obtained so far will be totally useless against it. So if he wants him and his team to survive, they've all got some serious leveling up to do, and fast. Now back to the human world. Somewhere in the city, Lu Feng pulls up his profile to see that he is now level 30 with no points, occupation, or allies. But his SS-grade weapon, the high-frequency vibration particle sword, which he got as a reward for clearing that last Shadow Realm, is still chilling in his inventory, although it has run out of charge, so he needs to find a place to charge it. He wonders where the hell he is going to find that much power to charge this thing, as charging it once is enough to short out the electricity of an entire city. He had helped his sister with her part-time job again, and now he is beat. So he thinks he'll just chill for a while and enjoy the sunlight for the meantime, instead of worrying about some dumb charger. Today is actually Valentine's Day, and the streets around Lu Feng are full of couples buying gifts and being all lovey-dovey with each other. One particular nuisance of a couple spots him chilling on his own and immediately assumes he's one pathetic loner single guy all on his own on Valentine's and immediately begins to make fun of him like total jerks. Just then, they notice that everyone in the street has stopped whatever they were doing to admire goddess Luo Shui, who, for some reason, is walking casually on the streets without any bodyguard. The crowd around her starts glazing her, but they wonder what she's doing in a city like this, instead of in Europe, where she normally bases. And then rumors start circulating that the top tycoon in S City, Huojie, has been chasing her, but she has never even given him the time of day. Luo Hui walks straight to her target, which is Lu Feng, without giving anyone so much as a glance. And the annoying couple from earlier can't believe what they're witnessing and immediately assume that she's asking for directions or something like that. But then the goddess actually offers him a drink, which she reveals he had actually requested her to bring. The crowd is shocked that Luo Shui flew all the way to the city just to bring nobody some coffee and stares in disbelief. But when Lu Feng tells her off for being late and tells her to take a seat beside him, which she immediately obliges, the crowd, especially that stupidly annoying couple, is left in awe. The crowd simply can't get enough of them, and it is really starting to piss Lu Feng off. And Luo Shui admits that she had not expected to meet such unpleasant nuisances either. So without warning, and definitely without consent, Lu Feng grabs her and pulls her into a hot chase to get rid of the crowd. They have to hide in an alley and get really close with each other, which is hella awkward, for Luo Shui at least, while they wait for those annoying dumb fans to run the other way in search of her and her kidnapper. After they lose them, Luo Shui finally asks why Lu Feng called her all the way out here anyway. So he tells her to follow him if she wants to find out. They hop in a car and start driving, and Luo Shui has to drive because apparently Lu Feng has not gotten his driver's license in the real world yet, but he gives her directions to follow. She asks again where they're actually going, so Lu Feng reveals that they're going to a gathering of his old classmates and he wants her to play the role of his fake girlfriend for a little while. This shocks her, as she can't believe that he called her all the way out here for something as petty as this. And then she reminds him that she has never dated before. But Lu Feng corrects her, saying that she had actually dated before sometime during his repetition days. He also tells her that this is a give-and-take situation, in which she agrees to be his girlfriend for a little while, and then he will teach her how to perfect the ending of the Luo family's 5 consecutive move. This shocks her to the extent that she almost misses a red light, so she has to bring the car to a screeching halt. But our boy wasn't joking, and he really is willing to help her in exchange for her cooperation. He then requests that they practice a little and tells her that the story is that she was begging for his love even though he rejected her many times. Luo Shui is not really down with the idea of playing a lovesick psycho girlfriend, but he urges her to do it, and she eventually gives in and admits it just like he requested. There are people passing by that overhear their conversation and are shocked and incredibly disappointed at the news, especially the one that had already given his heart to her. This greatly embarrasses Luo Shui, but Lu Feng is having the absolute time of his life. They then arrive at a huge building, and Luo Shui is surprised that this is where his classmates chose to meet. But Lu Feng calmly reveals that it was all a joke, and he had actually brought her to one of the biggest trade centers for awakeners in the country to trade items from the shadow world and hold auctions. Luo Shui then realizes that he only brought her in because he needs a high-ranking awakener to enter the auction, and it is actually nothing concerning playing fake girlfriend, like in a romance movie, and Lu Feng can detect the tiniest hint of disappointment in her, which she outright denies, of course. They walk straight into the building and everyone immediately notices Luo Shui and the fact that she is walking really close to some nobody, so they assume it is nothing but pure coincidence. As they walk in, Lu Feng informs Luo Shui that all the bills would be on her naturally since he is flat broke, and Luo Shui doesn't know why she was expecting it to be any different at this point, but agrees to be his piggy bank for this shopping spree. The poke-nosers who are in the crowd gossip about how Luo Shui is not only accompanying some rando but is also paying his bills, and they wonder who the hell that man is. The Awakeners Trade Center totally looks like an indoor street market with traders displaying their goods and buyers making their picks. One trader in particular yells about how priceless his goods are and how good his prices are, and then Lu Feng spots something interesting in his store, a Rubik's Cube, so he inquires about it. The trader immediately sets his money-hungry eyes on our MC and his babe and informs him that what he is holding is actually an A-rank, one-of-a-kind Rubik's Cube. And he doesn't forget to add that it's only going for 100,000, even though most A-rank items go for at least 800,000 and above. Lu Feng immediately waves it off as too expensive, but then the trader tries to glaze him by giving him a 10% discount offer just to get him to take it. Just then, Lu Feng notices a sign that offers a draw for just 1,000, and the trader explains that it is actually a chance to take the Rubik's Cube if he can crack it open. Lu Feng then orders Luo Shui to give him 1,000, and she really does pay it immediately like some sort of personal ATM, and the trader of course is confident that there's no way he can crack it because so many others have tried, even several national Rubik's Cube experts, and failed, And he doesn't have a refund policy. But before he can even finish that thought, Lu Feng cracks it open without breaking a sweat and reveals what's inside. This naturally shocks the trader and everyone else at the center. But they're even more shocked when the cube awards Lu Feng with the key to the Shadow Realm treasury, an A-rank item, for unlocking it. The trader immediately changes his mind and changes the price of the item. But Lu Feng really doesn't appreciate being cheated, so he knocks him over and informs him that the person who paid for it is actually the goddess Luo Shui, who can easily revoke his licenses if he so much as stares at her for too long. And she doesn't really like cheaters either, so he doesn't really have much of a choice in the matter. After that whole incident is behind them, Luo Shui inquires if Lu Feng's occupation is actually some sort of Rubik's Cube master or something, but he reveals that solving Rubik's Cubes was just a hobby he picked up in his repetition days out of sheer boredom. She then asks why he hasn't picked an occupation yet, but he waves the question off and tells her that there are more important things to do, but she can't fathom how being his personal money wallet is more important than this. He really does use her as an ATM, because next they go on to get some other stuff like a B-rank Twilight Wolf handgun at 10,000 awakening coins, C-rank Alpha Mutation Growth Agent tablets at 8,000 awakening coins, C-rank Military Knuckles at 5,000 awakening coins, and he also wants a B-rank Dagger of the Murky Knight for 12,000 awakening coins. At this point, Luo Shui has to inform him that she won't be able to hold all this anymore, and the people around are jealous of the guy enjoying himself on a shopping spree all on the house because of his lovesick but stupidly rich girlfriend. Luo Shui has to ask why he is buying all this stuff in one go, but Lu Feng tells her that she will understand pretty soon. Just then, their shopping is interrupted by a group of dudes that walk up to them and start addressing Luo Shui like they've been good friends for some time. But Luo Shui has absolutely no idea whatsoever who these random dudes are or why they're suddenly talking to her, and it's a stab in the chest to see that she doesn't even remember them. The leader of the gang introduces himself as Wang Meng, the vice captain of the Huo Guild, and tries to jog her memory of when they met. But Luo Shui plainly admits that she can't recall any guilds that are not in the top 100 globally, and she doesn't really talk much to Huo Jie either, so that's definitely a blow to his ego. Wang Meng proceeds to yap and question her about following some cheap trash like Lu Feng, who only knows how to spend her money and doesn't even have good taste, buying only C-rank and B-rank trash. But amidst all his yapping, he doesn't even realize that Lu Feng has taken his lady and left a while back, because they definitely didn't come all this way to get their ears blocked by premium yapping. Wang Meng can do nothing but stare as they leave him for the auction, and it seems Sister Lin and her crew will be attending this auction as well. At the auction ground, the host announces that there will be a 15-minute-long private auction before the main auction event actually begins, and the sponsor is none other than the goddess Luo Shui, who has a Black Awakener's license that makes her more than qualified. The Awakeners are shocked to see that the lovesick Luo Shui is now auctioning her private collection for that weak boy, and now Sister Lin is curious to see who this weak boy is. After a while, Lu Feng takes the stage to begin the auction, and two top people, Granny Lin, the guild leader of the Hua Xin Guild that ranks 104th in the entire world, and Bai He, a little kid who's apparently the vice guild leader of the Icebreaker Guild that ranks 96th globally, attend the auction virtually. Lu Feng thanks everyone for attending, and Luo Shui is there as the sponsor of the event. Then he begins immediately, as he doesn't have much time, and he announces that they only have 5 items to be auctioned out of Luo Shui's personal collection. The first item to be auctioned is the B-rank dagger that he bought previously, which can increase one's critical chance by only 0.5% at night. The crowd is extremely disappointed at this, and Wang Meng doesn't fail to voice his degrading opinion, and one of the Awakeners even reports that he saw Lu Feng buy that very dagger from a random store just a few minutes ago. The boy Vice Guild leader deems it absolutely worthless and signs off entirely, and some people follow suit by leaving the hall out of disappointment. But Lu Feng isn't done explaining. He reminds the crowd that there's always a chance that items from the Shadow Realm will contain hidden attributes and reveals that each and every item he is auctioning contains hidden attributes. Wang Meng then points out that hidden attributes are extremely rare and seriously doubts what Lu Feng is claiming as he stands to leave as well. But then our MC decides to use that cocky dude as a test guinea pig. Lu Feng instantly vanishes from the stage to everyone's shock, and then appears behind a startled Wang Meng out of nowhere, then puts the dagger to his throat. Lu Feng reveals that this dagger actually does have a hidden attribute, which is to allow its user to melt into a shadow for 1.5 seconds, and this can be activated a whole 6 times, which would mean a lot for Awakeners, especially assassin types. The mood in the crowd totally changes from disappointment to excitement as they realize that the dagger can basically grant the user 5 more chances to escape if ever caught in a sticky situation, especially for assassins. Lu Feng tells them to calm down and bid properly like mannered human beings if they really want it, and he starts the bidding off at 100,000, but bidders from the crowd immediately take it all the way to 800,000 with more to come. Sister Lin realizes that the weak dude she has heard about is actually Lu Feng, the same overpowered man that saved their behinds not long ago, and she begins to fear his capabilities even more. Meanwhile, Wang Meng is left to sulk in his stupidity because he really wants that item, but he can't bid anymore because of his dumb pride, as he has dissed the very man who is now the crowd's favorite. He then decides to stubbornly not give in to bidding for anything, even if it kills him. The bidding has already reached millions of awakening coins, and Lu Feng finally sells the dagger of the Murky Knight to a gentleman in the crowd at 5 million. And the so-called gentleman is no other than the shameless Wang, who, in the end, couldn't stop himself from bidding. Luo Shui stares in awe as she can't believe that her boyfriend is actually auctioning off all these cheap items at such high prices. Lu Feng then announces the second item that he has to auction, which is the Cloak of Howling Gale, which is a C-rank item that can only increase attack speed by 1% as its unique ability. Some people are disappointed that he went from a B grade to a C grade, but others have learned their lesson and are sure that there are some sweet hidden abilities behind the otherwise useless equipment just like before. Lu Feng decides to skip the demonstration this time around and just outright tells them that the cloak can allow the wearer to see spirits, and this can be activated every 3 hours and last for 10 minutes. With this, the owner would be able to increase their survivability rate in shadow realms with a large number of specters, and it is especially useful for those in the swordsman class. And with that, he starts the bidding off at 1 million. Just like before, the bidding kicks off immediately, and people start competing for it like it's hotcake. But then the old dude, who is the guild leader of Huaxin Guild, shuts them all up when he bids 15 million, making them realize that they are not on the same level financially at all. Sister Lin can't believe that a C-grade item is about to get sold for 15 million awakening coins, even higher than the B-grade item from before. But with no one else placing a higher bid, Lu Feng really does sell it for that crazy amount of money and congratulates the grandpa on his win. The crowd is truly amazed that the lucky guy cannot only leech off goddess Luo Shui like a personal piggy bank, but can also spot and sell high-quality cheap items for this much, and Wang Meng swears to himself not to bid again, even though his guild is wealthy to an extent. The brat kid, who also happens to be the vice guild leader of some big guild, also returns to the scene, glad that it isn't over yet. Lu Feng starts off the next auction by reminding everyone about the fact that awakeners can only choose their class once they reach level 20 and advance to intermediate at level 50. Then he reveals an item that he claims is linked to the advancement of classes, a B-grade item, the crystal skeleton, which has no unique effect whatsoever. This crystal skeleton remains can replace the rare grade item, the Holy Grail of Power, in helping a warrior advance to intermediate level instantly. He starts the bidding at 5 million, much higher than the other items he has auctioned. But the crowd goes crazy, and people compete for it even more. Then there's Sister Lin, who reasons that adding an intermediate warrior to their ranks won't be a bad idea, so she calmly bids 10 million above everyone else. But the shameless Wang Meng bids 15 million, after all the promises he made to himself never to bid again. So now it becomes a competition between both of them. They keep raising it higher and higher until it eventually reaches 25 million. Then the spoilt brat casually bids 35 million, shutting the entire competition down and shocking the core who hadn't even realized he had returned after deeming the auction useless. Sister Lin's subordinate asks if they should go higher, but she tells her that it's no longer worth it above 30 million awakening coins, and with no other bidders, Lu Feng awards it to the spoilt brat, Bai He. Lu Feng then decides to auction off the last 2 items as a package deal for the final sale, and Wang Meng swears once again never to bid, even promises to call himself a dog if he should ever give in to the sweet temptation of bidding again. The last 2 items are the A-class arcane ring that increases attribute magic by 3%, but has the hidden ability to instantly cast an intermediate level spell that can be used every 30 days, and then the C-class frostfire potion that makes half of the consumer's body ice cold, and the other half scorching hot like Shoto Todoroki from My Hero Academia. But it also has a hidden ability to instantly recover the user's mana to full after adding just a drop of recovery potion to it. Luo Shui reasons that a ring that grants even low-level magicians the ability to instantly cast an intermediate-level magic spell is just scary, and a potion that instantly maxes out the user's mana bar is something that has never been seen before, and Lu Feng is just auctioning these items so casually. He goes ahead to start the bidding at 10 million this time, but Wang Meng is the first to bid, shamelessly accepting to call himself a dog if that is what it takes. The old grandpa and the spoilt brat from the high guilds also bid and join in the competition, and they take it all the way to 50 million, making the rest of the crowd realize that this is a competition that their broke pockets would never let them entertain. They all keep competing and raising the bids until the old grandpa calls 60 million, an amount which Wang Meng cannot top, especially after he bought that dagger earlier. The spoilt brat also agrees to give up after his butler advises him against going any further, so there's no one to top the grandpa's bid, and it looks like he is going home with another one of Lu Feng's low-level but highly valuable treasures, until Sister Lin shocks everyone and bids a whopping 75 million, reminding everyone in the crowd that she's actually from the Art Guild, which is the top guild in the world, so this is nothing for them. The old man throws in the towel at this point, and with obviously no other bidders, Lu Feng awards the items to Sister Lin, who is sure that her boss would be pleased with the items she got. Lu Feng congratulates her, then thanks the crowd for their participation, bringing his very shocking but incredibly successful auction to a close. He is about to call it a day and leave with his woman Luo Shui when a hologram projector suddenly comes on and displays a live broadcast from none other than Alston himself, our almighty wannabe superhero. The crowd is pleased to see their idol grace them with his presence, and Sister Lin is shocked that he decides to show up in person. The only person who is not delighted to see him is Lu Feng, as he remembers all the horrible things he is going to do. But you would never guess from the expression on his actual face because he knows better than to show his true colors this early in the game, and for some reason, this Homelander-inspired character wants to have a little chat with him. Alston asks if they have ever met before in the past, and Lu Feng outright denies it, but Alston is not convinced in the slightest, and lets out a wide, creepy smile with glowing eyes like that god statue in the first episode of Solo Leveling. Lu Feng still strongly sticks to his story and claims that he has no idea what the dude is talking about, but Alston just keeps smiling on the hologram broadcast, and then there is a huge explosion at the top of the building they're all in. The proprietor is the real Alston who had flown all the way there with the intention to completely obliterate everything in his path, so he dives straight for the city and causes mad destruction on everything. The entire city is up in flames, and Lu Feng manages to escape being crushed by the rubble, only to meet a psycho Alston that's ready to show him a terrible time. The man shoots freaking lasers from his eyes much like Homelander, but Lu Feng is able to dodge it, although he is not out of danger's way for long because Alston quickly closes the distance and gets all up in his face, and then gives him a super punch to the gut that leaves a gaping hole in his stomach and ends him. Lu Feng wakes up all sweaty and realizes that it was just a dream, and he was having the same nightmare for the third night in a row, even though it's been 3 whole days since the auction event. What actually happened that day was that Alston wanted to thank him personally for saving his companions the other day at the Catastrophe Rank World, and he didn't notice anything or attack Lu Feng in any way, and Lu Feng also managed to get the items he was looking for, which are the S-grade replication crystal that can create a copy of any A-grade item, costing 90 million awakening coins, and the A-grade charging devices that can charge any electronic equipment costing 20 million. He also knows that the replication crystal has a hidden ability to be able to replicate any S-grade single-use gadget that the player has used before, a perk that will definitely come in handy in the future. He takes a good look at his skills and decides that it's about time he says goodbye to his basic and secondary school, now that he's at level 30, and also begins to consider changing his occupation and heading to a new realm. He reasons that his long-term enemy, Alston, is overpowered as hell, and if he wants to stand a chance at defeating him, then he will need to get stronger at Godspeed. Just then, he receives a message from Su Tao Tao, confirming that she received the little gift he sent her. She thanks him for the A-grade soul-gathering ring that not only grants a 7% bonus to attribute magic, but also grants the user the ability to instantly cast an intermediate-level speed spell up to 20 times as a hidden bonus perk. He doesn't get why she is thanking him, as he informs her that he deducted 20 million plus 5 million processing fee from her account, so Su Tao Tao's appreciation immediately turns to dismay as she proceeds to cuss him for hacking into her account. Zhao Haishan also received a gift from him, a B-grade gravity chip that when equipped on a mechanical axe, increases its attack by 15%, and also has a set probability of triggering an increased gravity effect on attacks. He begins to wonder why this Lu Feng is spoiling him rotten like those young'uns that are always trying to sell him health products. Li Shijin is not spared a gift either from Santa Lu Feng, as he receives an A-grade Berserker crystal that causes one's clone to enter Berserk mode once activated, and he wonders if his boss wants him to destroy the world with this power. Ling Yu receives a C-grade Black Widow's Kiss item, which is a tactical silencer that guarantees her target would gain severe poison effects, causing increased damage over time once hit. She confirms with him that she received the item and proceeds to tell him never to send anything to her again without even so much as a thank you. Just then, Lu Feng is interrupted by this young miss that barges into his room and demands that he hurry up and follow her to meet her president Anya, as she doesn't like to be kept waiting. But our MC doesn't like the pressure and even makes jokes about firing the girl once he gets married to her boss, Anya. In a luxurious limo, Anya complains about Lu Feng's tardiness, but he reminds her that she's normally the one that likes keeping people waiting, so he is just serving her a taste of her own medicine, although he doesn't forget to thank her for helping him as well. She reveals that she's only helping him to pay him back for saving her back in that catastrophic world of fire and ice, and also to thank him for the precious lightning effect item that he gave her earlier. But Lu Feng doesn't think it's that big a deal, especially since he just modified a C-rank knuckle that he got from some random roadside stall at the trade center. She makes it absolutely clear that she is only paying her debts, and once the one favor is dealt with, they would be even and done with each other. Lu Feng starts to get casual with her, but Anya reminds him of the nature of their relationship, which is less than friends but more than strangers. So he teases her about the color of her panties, just to get her to fret and loosen up a bit. And Ya knows deep down that the shameless pervert in her car is most likely the most trustworthy person in this increasingly dangerous world that they find themselves in. They head somewhere in a helicopter, and Anya's secretary wonders who this man is that Anya is going through all the trouble for, finding a helicopter at such short notice and personally escorting him to his destination. Lu Feng can read her expression like an open book, and to answer her burning curiosity, he reveals where they are actually going, which is some ancient ruins in the mountains. They land at the site to see an oddly slanted temple ruin, with construction workers around trying to uncover more of the ruins, and they report to Anya, who's the one that contacted them to dig up the ruins. Anya's secretary is even more confused than before, not seeing this old place as something worth all the trouble her boss put in, but Lu Feng whips out the Rubik's Cube he got for cheap from that trade center, and then it unlocks and starts glowing. Then the entire ruin starts glowing, and suddenly a shadow gate appears out of thin air. The secretary is shocked by this, so Lu Feng explains that some high-level shadow gates only appear at unique locations and under specific conditions, and he tells them not to follow him as this is purely a solo mission. Then he heads for the gate. And Ya can do nothing but silently wish the best of luck to her stalker as she watches him jump headfirst into an unknown and definitely dangerous shadow realm without any backup support. He lands at the A-grade shadow realm, Sage Tower, that looks like all those battle arenas from ancient Greece. A wise old dude all dressed in white wise man attire welcomes him and comes out of the tower to inquire about his business here. But before he can answer, another wise old dude all dressed in black wise man attire joins them from wherever and also asks him the same question. When Lu Feng finally gets the chance to talk, he confidently but casually states that he came to get a hidden class. The Black Sage informs him that the mortality rate of this shadow realm is 85%, a fact that he's already well aware of, so it doesn't faze him in the slightest. Seeing that he is dead serious in this, the White Sage uses his magic staff to show him a collection of hidden classes he can pick from, which range from Elemental Master to Demolition Expert. And of all this, Lu Feng chooses the classless class that absolutely shocks the two mages simultaneously. The White Mage informs him that the trial for this classless occupation is the hardest of all of them, and failure will result in the complete obliteration of the challenger. But Lu Feng still stubbornly sticks to his pick, eager to start this dumb trial already. So the White Mage shows him a door he has to go through in order to begin the trial, and wishes him the best of luck. As they watch our nonchalant MC walk through the door without even the slightest hesitation, the White Mage reveals that out of the 1,000 who challenged for the classless class, only one managed to survive after forfeiting, but only with the help of an S-grade item, so him coming out of this would be nothing short of a miracle. But the Black Sage strongly believes that even a miracle can't really do much for Lu Feng, and even goes as far as betting to serve the White One from now on if our man should survive the first stage. Lu Feng arrives at the Sky Arena, a huge stage in the sky with no protective rails, and a voice announces that the strength trial is about to begin, so he should prepare himself. Just then, he soon senses something huge approaching him, so he prepares for battle, and then a giant one-eyed ogre monster appears from nowhere, and his task is to beat the hell out of it in order to clear this stage of the battle. The ogre immediately attacks him with its spiked mace, but Lu Feng easily dodges and then swiftly changes positions. It keeps attacking, and Lu Feng keeps dodging it, but not aimlessly, as he is trying to lead it somewhere. The sages who are observing the battle wonder what Lu Feng is planning. Then the black sage deduces that he is trying to lure the monster to the edge of the ring. But so many awakeners that had the same bright idea have already gone to meet their creator a long time ago. Back to the battle, Lu Feng jumps before the ogre can attack, and then uses his sword to poke at its eye, then activates the freeze skill to instantly freeze the ogre's only eyeball. But this doesn't stop the monster from attacking, and it easily breaks the ice that covered its eye, regaining full sight. Then it proceeds to continue trying to squash Lu Feng with its mace. Just then, Lu Feng uses his freeze skill on the floor beneath them to freeze the entire arena and convert it to an ice skating rink that is slippery as hell, making the ogre lose its balance immediately. And then he uses the opening it creates to kick it all the way out of the arena and over the edge to fall to its doom. With that dealt with, Lu Feng easily clears the first trial, so the gate to the second one opens for him, and the sages can't believe that he used such an underhanded trick to defeat the monster. The black sage changes his stance and his bet at the very last minute, claiming to really be the white sage's servant if he should pass the second round, because he is sure that Lu Feng won't even stand a chance, as he would need to rely on strength, no more tricks, and Lu Feng confidently advances to the next trial without any hesitation. The next trial is the trial of speed, and Lu Feng is to race against the wind spirit, Sylph, and seize victory if he wants to clear it. The wind spirit's movements create strong windstorms to stop him, and he would be met with great misfortune if he falls off the track. The sages are sure that he won't pass this next trial so easily because the wind spirit's speed can reach the speed of sound within seconds of starting, and it only increases after every 10 seconds. So forgetting the fact that he is an awakener without a class, it would be impossible to beat that spirit even if he was an assassin with max speed. The countdown starts, and the race is about to begin, so Lu Feng takes his position. Then Sylph uses this opportunity to glaze herself and boast about her speed, then mock Lu Feng, but he couldn't care less, because the moment the race begins, he uses his vibration sword to send a surprise slash attack at the wind spirit, killing her instantly and shocking the mages who were watching. The black sage is enraged and immediately calls it cheating, but the white mage reminds him that there are no rules prohibiting the killing of a competitor, so technically our MC is all in the right in this scenario. Since he is now the only competitor, Lu Feng casually takes his time and goes through the entire race course without breaking a sweat, and finally crosses the finish line, clearing the trial and opening the door to the next. The black sage changes his bet once again, claiming that if Lu Feng should win again, he would be a servant beyond his lifetime, but the white sage doesn't really care about all that. The next trial is the trial of intelligence, and Lu Feng is packed in this cube that's floating over a pool of hot lava, and the trial requirements to get cleared is to solve 8 different puzzles from various backgrounds, and the time limit is 15 minutes before the entire cube gets swallowed by lava. The white mage reveals that the only way to get through is to spend about 2 minutes on each puzzle, but a high-level Rubik's Cube takes at least 6 minutes with approximately 3,000 turns, while another of the puzzles is a death trap that will set off an explosion if a mistake is made. The black sage chimes in that the only humans with a small chance of clearing this are those of the description master class, which Lu Feng clearly is not, but he has also proved them wrong multiple times before, so the white sage doesn't make the mistake of underestimating him again. The huge hourglass turns and time starts ticking, signifying the commencement of the trial, and the black sage is pleasantly surprised that Lu Feng went straight for the death trap, but the white sage sees beyond that. Lu Feng shocks them both by solving both the death trap that requires absolute concentration and the Rubik's Cube at the same time, and the white sage admits that he hadn't expected this, but what shocks them even more is when he completes them both under only 45 seconds flat, then moves on to the next puzzle and completes it under 5 minutes, then the next under 1 minute, and then the white mage starts to wonder if this man is actually some kind of AI or something. After 10 minutes and 20 seconds, Lu Feng completes the entire trial with time to spare, and the mages can't believe they just witnessed the highest score they've ever seen without any skill or equipment, just his hands and mind. But Lu Feng has already practiced everything here 1,000 times, so it really is nothing for him. He immediately moves on to the next trial, and this time our gambler of a black sage bets his manhood and swears to turn into a dog if he should clear the next trial. But Lu Feng easily clears it, which is the trial of physics, so the black sage has to keep to his word and turn into a dog. This trial required him to stay a full week in a ghoul-infested world, and Black Dog Sage doesn't understand how Lu Feng was able to complete it in just 24 hours. So the White Sage explains that he figured out the truth of the world, which is that the ground is actually the sky. So all he had to do was destroy the ground, and that allowed sunlight to seep through, purifying the land, and ending the trial way too early. The White Sage then tells the Black Sage to revert back to his normal self, but the stubborn dog refuses to admit defeat and swears to be a dog until he sees the end of that awakener, so all they can do is sit back and enjoy the show. The next trial is the trial of perception, and Lu Feng is transported to a shadow realm where he has to defeat dozens of awakeners from all the classes in order to clear the trial. Lu Feng is being chased by all those awakeners at once, and the sages aren't surprised because against all those dudes, running away is the only sane option at this point, although the Black Sage doesn't really think it will help him very much in the end. Lu Feng speeds up, and the awakeners are still trying to catch up. Then suddenly he disappears from their sight, and they completely lose his trail. Just then, one of the awakeners steps on a field mine that goes off immediately and activates a huge bomb that causes a massive explosion, wiping out quite a percentage of them at the same time. Another group of unfortunate awakeners stumble into an electric field generator that emerges from the ground and generates enough electricity to do a whole lot more damage than just stunning them. And yet another group of awakeners are ambushed by automatic sentry guns that detect their movement and fire at random, wiping them out. The sages are shocked yet again to see that Lu Feng has brought so many deadly tactical weapons to assist him in clearing out the crowd, almost as if he knew he was going to have to face a large number of enemies at the same time. Lu Feng doesn't just sit back and let the traps do all the work, he also gets down and cuts some of the awakeners down with his blade. This reveals his location, and they restart their chase, so he leads them to a mountaintop. The Black Sage presumes that he has run out of little toys, and is leading the awakeners to the mountains so they can surround him and end him. But he was just disguising himself as the prey when actually he was leading them to another one of his traps, the biggest one yet, and once they reach the mountains, a huge bomb explodes that deals the most damage and wipes most of them clean off the world. The sages are stunned that he actually pulled out a demolition bomb from nowhere and destroyed the entire mountain, along with a huge number of the awakeners. But there are still about 30% of the awakeners left in the game, so the Black Sage holds out hope that they're planning to retreat and wait things out, and come up with a better strategy to take him out. But the White Sage points out that it's already too late to do any form of retreating now, because Lu Feng has already gone and found the game operator, one random loser dude, and uncovered the true objective of the trial, which is to find the game operator among the many awakeners who is pulling the strings and end the trial by eliminating him. The loser dude of course denies it like a total NPC, but it doesn't really matter to Lu Feng because no matter if he is the game operator or not, he is still planning to send him to his creator. Lu Feng slashes him and the trial completes momentarily, which means that dude was in fact the actual game operator. The Black Mage, now a rat, can only squeak in annoyance, so the White Sage begs him to change back to normal as his betting is getting out of hand. The Black Sage reveals that the classless class that Lu Feng chose is the hardest of all hidden classes, and requires one extra trial with a hell difficulty setting, so he decides to grant himself the honor of partaking in this final trial with a burning desire to end our MC. And the White Sage can't really fathom why he is so worked up all of a sudden. Lu Feng steps into the next trial room to see someone waiting to battle him in an arena, and he notes that this is to be his last trial before he is finally able to achieve his goal, which is the classless class. He is welcomed by none other than the Black Sage as his opponent, and Lu Feng is actually pleasantly surprised to see a familiar face, so he doesn't forget to greet the old man. The old man doesn't know how to take a nice greeting though, because the next minute his eyes are glowing red with anger, and he admits that he hadn't expected Lu Feng to perform so well in the other trials, but he informs our MC that his lucky streak ends here as the last trial is a one-on-one battle with him, and then he proceeds to transform into a mighty dragon with fierce scales and an intimidating aura. He then attacks with his dragon breath, but Lu Feng blocks it by summoning the ice wall that came with the ice centipede, and he manages to completely fend off the huge attack. The Black Dragon then sends divine judgment in the form of 1,000 scorching rocks that come raining down on Lu Feng and explode on impact, causing intense damage, but Lu Feng is once again able to elude each and every one of them. The Black Dragon tells him that trying to dodge will only prove futile in the long run, but Lu Feng is actually done running and reveals a trick of his own as he summons the entire Doomsday Patrol to come aid him in this battle. Lu Feng orders his minions to shoot the dragon down, so one of the Doomsday Patrollers pulls out a bow and shoots a special arrow that heads straight for the dragon, but the Black Sage can sense it coming in time, so he is able to easily dodge. Then the arrow splits into many smaller arrows that come raining down at the dragon. He uses his dragon flame breath to attack them, but they retaliate by sending a meteor shower that inflicts serious damage on the black dragon and puts holes in his wings. This pisses the Black Sage off, so he sends his scorching hot dragon flames that cause a tornado of fire down on the Doomsday Patrollers. They try to escape, but some of them are caught in the flames and completely obliterated. He informs them once again that running away will only prolong their suffering, so one of the patrollers turns right back around and launches his spear at the dragon. It seems like it's heading straight for him, but it misses so far back that the black dragon has to ask if it is seeing clearly. Then Lu Feng jumps right off the soaring spear and lands in a position where he can launch a deadly attack directly on the dragon without giving the Black Sage any chance to react in time. That is when the dragon realizes that Lu Feng never intended to hit him with the staff, but to use it as his personal witch's broomstick to hitch a ride and instantly close the distance between them. Now in the perfect position to slay a dragon, Lu Feng uses his high-frequency vibration particle /move to send a lightning bolt strong enough to kill a whale down at the dragon, sending it crashing from the sky in an instant KO. This finally clears the final trial, completing the entire game and granting Lu Feng the hidden class known as classless. And more importantly, he sticks it to that dumb Black Sage who really believed he couldn't do it. The classless hidden class will basically turn Lu Feng into a jack of all trades, granting him the ability to learn and use skills from all classes. The Black Sage still can't believe he was utterly defeated by an untouched human, and the White Mage consoles him with the fact that there will always be a player who brings with him a miracle. He then proceeds to congratulate Lu Feng on being the first out of thousands who had challenged the classless hidden class to actually clear the trial. Lu Feng doesn't even waste any time in asking for his hidden reward, so the White Mage obliges and bestows upon him a special drop for clearing the trial, which is an S-grade item known as the Summoning Badge that allows the user to summon any one of the opponents they face during the trials. But it is a consumable item, so it can only be used once. He believes this is indeed a cool reward, because now he can summon the army of Awakeners he faced in one of the trials to his aid at any time. Then some light comes out and lands on his forehead, granting him a bonus skill, an exclusive hidden comprehensive skill known as the Sea of Consciousness, that grants his soul protection from any external force, and ensures that no one would be able to read his memory. He is especially grateful for this new skill, because he knows that his long-term enemy, Aliston, has the innate ability to read the memories of others, so at least it will grant him safety from that terrifying ability. He just has to focus on getting strong enough to defeat the Homelander lookalike as soon as possible. After all that is over and done with, Anya's secretary drives Lu Feng back home in the real world, and he leaves her without even the slightest explanation, as if nothing happened. He jokingly tells her not to worry, as he would make sure to increase her pay once he marries her boss, Anya. The secretary starts to seriously worry that Lu Feng might not be joking with all these claims of marrying her boss. Before he leaves, he asks her for one more request, which is to order him a nice hot pot meal at an address he will send her. All on her boss's tab, of course, since she spends so much time dieting, and he wouldn't want her to waste all the money budgeted for food. At this point, the secretary can do nothing but comply. As Lu Feng enjoys his very expensive and luxurious meal, he checks his phone to see that Su Tao Tao has sent him so many useless text messages in the short time he has been gone, and wonders how a school kid can have so much free time on her hands. She really wants to play a game with him, but he is not interested in online games at the moment, and asks if she would rather play a real-life game with him on a trip to London next week. Su Tao Tao, having learned from her last mistakes, knows better than to trust Lu Feng and follow him on one of his adventure trips, so she rejects the offer. Plus, she has her master exams coming up, so her schedule is pretty full anyway, and Lu Feng lets her go. He reckons that the matter will actually affect how successful humanity's attack on the final Shadow Realm is, then takes a picture of a familiar old dude with his little girl, regretting not being able to change the fact that the man died in a Shadow Realm, but swearing to make good on his promise to him for the sake of this chaotic world. At a futuristic London city with flying cars and buildings as tall as the sky, Lu Feng and his crew alight from a train that arrived from another city, and he goes over to check out the city's layout on the map. Our street girl Xiaya is taken aback and stunned by the sheer experience, as she has always wanted to leave the country and be an international gangster, while Ling Yu quietly hauls their bags like the maid she is. Li Shijin finally asks what they came all the way to London City to do, and our mysterious MC only tells him that they've come for a very important matter that concerns the future of all Awakeners, and that of the entire world, looking smart in his cool shades and fancy jacket, but not really answering the question.